U.S. initial jobless claims just coming out here a little bit early this morning. 201,000 versus 215,000 on the week-over-week number there. Just coming through at 8:30. We also got the ADP private payrolls number. 122,000 versus 140. So a little bit downside there. That was at 8:15. Putting futures under a little bit more pressure. Continuing claims. 1.86 million last week versus 1.84 million expected. We are going to get some energy data coming up today. Yes, it's Wednesday. Market is closed tomorrow. We will still be here. That is for the Jimmy Carter celebrations. 12 o'clock, we'll get natural gas as well. So both oil and natural gas coming out this morning. And then remember, non-farm payrolls to come on Friday this week as well as we head into the first week of January. Welcome into what's going to be a pretty exciting day here. We have a lot to discuss. Sharif is back.
Hey,
welcome back.
Thank you.
How was your break?
It was good. It was Christmas for me yesterday. For us Eastern folk on the Julian calendar.
Lots of food?
Yeah, lots, Brendo. A lot of exercise as well. Lots to talk about today. Nvidia in focus. Jensen making comments yesterday with respect to quantum computing, sending an entire category of stocks down double digits. I'm talking about QUBT, Rigetti, and others. Separately, his company, Nvidia that is, got a boost from Bernstein. AMD also in focus, Brendo. They got downgraded today by HSBC, but they're also investing in another company. This ABSI, this company does, I believe, in the healthcare industry, and it looks like they're going to use AI to kind of boost their product generation.
Yeah, CES continuing as well. We had the positive reaction, I guess, from the CES speech from Jensen. And then he goes and blows up quantum entirely. Here's 26% right now for RGTI. And all he said was it's going to be 15 years minimum before we start to see anything from this, which is probably pretty accurate. So maybe these stocks, probably these stocks got a little bit out over their ski tips a little bit.
Oh, God, yeah. You have to, especially since that Willow release by Google, everything has been really moving. And I got to tell you, quantum started moving after the election before Google announced Willow. So you feel like there was a trade right before that with maybe industry participants knowing what was going to be the release, because these guys were moving before that.
Yeah, a ton of volume behind this move as well. It's worth mentioning. So, I mean, there's a lot of them to keep an eye on here today. But RGTI, even the warrants down huge, 35% for the warrants right now. Not a lot of volume behind that, but a lot to keep an eye on, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. That's not the worst. I mean, Rigetti's not even the worst of the quantum names. I know IonQ is only 18%, but QBTS, D-Wave, is 29% to the downside. QUBT is down well over 20%. He's getting smoked. And for anyone, I mean, I know he's a farmer boy, but Martin Shkreli actually has an interesting thread on the quantum names. He's probably it's about as bearish as ever. He put price targets on them. And I think for it was D-Wave and one of the other ones, he had 1 cent, or not price targets, fair values. He had 1 cent fair value for D-Wave and one of the other ones. But yeah, they're going to be in play today. Obviously, the big story yesterday was selling off everywhere. So these are all day 2 sell-offs in all of the quantum names because you were already failing some highs. Things failing the high yesterday. Meta failed a triple top. Nvidia failed an all-time high break. A couple of quantum names failed some all-time high breaks. Google failed a $200 level, and that $200 level, and then continuation, and then a bit of a continuation day here today. The good news is at 8 o'clock there was a solid bounce across the board, right at about 8 a.m. And remember, we get Fed minutes today. I don't know how big of a deal that's going to be, but there's a host of names that look like continuations to the short side, and the quantum names in addition. Thankfully, 2 of them we have free locates on.
We are, welcome everybody. Hope you're having a good day. I don't know if you guys are on this silo or not, but it just started popping and we took that long. Silo right here. Silo Pharma shares are trading higher after the company announced it was awarded a U.S. patent for its PTSD treatment. So we're long right now on Silo right there. Already a banger for you here today. So again, thank you so much for watching. This name only is 4 million share float, 7% short float. Already done 6 million shares. This could be one of those ones. I'm waiting at $2.50 now because that was the top. Our best out is $2.30. So a couple percentage points already in the blotter today. But yeah, so far so good there. I don't know if anybody saw that TGL golf yesterday. That was pretty awesome. They did the on the screens, the indoor golf. It was,
I didn't catch that.
It was
That's
great.
cool
Yeah,
stuff.
Rory McIlroy was there. Ricky Fowler with his glasses were in there. It was fun times right there yesterday. So we'll see. I think that's going to be something coming very, very soon. They can play like 18 holes in like
Which
an
is
hour
so cool.
because they don't have to walk the course, right? So
On a day where it's like minus 13 here.
oh yeah, for here it's good for sure. It's
yeah,
that would be can't play outdoor golf around here. These
Or unless you're completely insane, I suppose.
I mean, once we become U.S. citizens, then we can travel much more easily across the border. We go to Phoenix and stuff.
Well, you know what? I don't
Vegas.
care what anyone says about this.
Look at this silo.
51st state stuff. Like, why? The idea that you have easier transportation or easier travel between U.S. and Canada, better trade relations, like all of that kind of stuff would be fantastic. I would welcome. I don't care about the 51st state. Like, just make life easier for everybody. That.
Yeah, just really quickly, a lot of people here talking about this stock. I mean, it's part of why I'm trading it. I mean, it's been hot recently, some of these runners, right? We've had some big winners in these names, including Fubo the last couple of days, Rigetti when it's moving. Obviously today as well will be another one of those days for those names. And this was just one that could sort of fit the bill, right? A low float name that started to move on news. So it's just like, let's let it go and see if we have, that opportunity here to catch a bigger trade. I'm already out of 40% of it. Most of that right in here around 220. You guys were asking for some levels and things like that. I mean, coming right back in 240s. This is what we're looking at. That's why I'm sitting here right now, is we sort of zoom this back out. You can go all the way back to April. And I mean, that was 240 for some reason, unable to break this level. So I don't know if there's sort of a whale seller in there or not. I'm surprised they would be there in the pre-market right now, but I didn't really notice it when it was going like that. So we were able to get something out when we saw the top and then the fade back, but I didn't have a look at the level 2. So we'll see if it can get back up there, if there's some, odd sell pressure around that 250 area. But if you're in right now at 193 and you could take like 30% like we have, that might not be a bad start to the day. So we're going to start to maybe get a little bit more out, not until 220, then 240.
A number of other things moving around here. I was just having a look at Apple, a couple of down days in a row here for Apple. The downgrade we were talking about yesterday, it popped right back up as soon as the market opened, basically erasing that initial move in the pre-market, but we give it all back into the end of the day. There was an iPhone 16 note on Indonesia this morning that sends this even lower this morning. So big tech in general under a bit of pressure here this morning. We saw Nvidia yesterday give it all back down. I mean, it's down versus where we started yesterday, but positive so far this morning. So overall, we'll see. Oh, by the way, Fed minutes coming up this afternoon.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be big. I want to see exactly what they think. But with respect to the Apple story there, Brendo, it's been a kind of a tit-for-tat exchange between the Indonesian government and Apple. Indonesia insisting that there has to be substantial investment in the infrastructure of their company, where they make a part of the iPhone in Indonesia locally. Apple committed to about $1 billion in investment. That was insufficient from the Indonesian government, so they're continuing to go back and forth. We'll have to see how this all pans out, but Apple's already invested to the tune of about $100 million in the country, but again, insufficient amount according to the Indonesian government. Big market there, and a burgeoning market in Southeast Asia, Brendo.
That they're still trying to gain access to, so we'll see how that pans out. Here's a look at the next projection. For January, 95.2% right now on a hold as expected there. If you go out to March, it's still a bit of a coin toss on whether or not we'll get another cut coming through. Remember, it kind of feels like things have changed since the last Fed meeting when we sat here and listened to Fed Chair Powell. Didn't really give us any kind of indication as far as what their plan was. Gave us the same old, we're data dependent. We'll see how the numbers come through. We do get this NFP print, remember, coming up on Friday morning this week, which will be key to this to see how things play out. But might be March before we see any kind of cut again.
Yeah, if we even see it. Donald Trump wants to, announce an economic emergency to kind of spur along his tariff plan there. So that could be inflationary. We have to wait and see exactly what the data shows and how the Fed responds to some of the fiscal stimulus or fiscal policies coming out from the new government. Should be an interesting winter quarter.
Yeah, it's if anyone's joining for the first time and it's your first go around with the release of the Fed minutes, it's just simply the minutes from the last meeting. So there's not going to be anything we don't know already. It'll just give more clarity on individual Fed members and how they voted and comments and things like that. So 2 p.m. this afternoon for that.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a, I'd say, muted event on the minutes, but it'll be interesting to digest. Probably keep an eye on what rates are doing because yields have been pretty high. On the 10-year yields at like 4.7 right now and still trending upside. So you got to watch out for that. That's been weighing on all your nice defensive stocks that pay you those dividends. They've been trash while yields have been going higher. So I think you got to maybe pay attention to some of those as we get back closer to 2 o'clock. Oh, it was a rough day for Tesla yesterday, Randy. Rough day. At least they're not quantum stocks. Quantum stocks are down average of 20%. 20%.
Yeah, it's a little.
It's not good. Oh, you formed it in like a heart. That was very kind of you. Yeah, look at that. Appreciate you, Randy.
He's kind of got, there we go. Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to turn it around. There, there's Tesla today down 1%. Yeah, I'll have to have that banana. Down 1%. The pullback does continue. But still above the 50-period moving average. I mean, I still like this 360 area. I mean, the pullback in the market is here. We've talked about that. You're all the way back a couple days. It's not the end of the world. This miss on the deliveries was a problem when we went from 420 down to 380. I mean, that was a big day there for Tesla. And I mean, that's the macro, right? Like, no matter what we think about the company, they missed on deliveries. So that's sort of it. Baked in now. So now we have to figure out what do we think moving forward. Can they get their act together? Can they get that new model on the road?
Cybertruck surplus, no discounts.
Randy was saying Cybertruck.
Cybertruck discounts maybe in the works. There's a surplus of Cybertrucks right now. No Model 2 in sight. I'm not being pessimistic here, but yes, I am.
Yeah, that was the problem, though.
There's issues. So. But I think if you look at the storm clouds, we knew this was coming. Again, it's been fun to trade this since September? But is it going to last forever? Oh, Rivian.
Well, no, I was gonna.
What's wrong with Rivian now?
No, I don't think it's anything wrong with it. I just
think Rivian's gonna, they're gonna get pulled down, maybe a sympathy play with. Some of the demise of Tesla, but it's
reverse head and shoulders.
The fundamentals are better, I think. So yes.
Yeah, look, Tesla had that crazy ramp up. Yep. Like it wouldn't surprise me. I think the bigger issue for Rivian is going to be, what we were just looking at with rates. Like for all these small caps, everyone not making money, for everybody that needs to beat production or figure production out, like it's going to be expensive for them if we don't get any cuts this year, if we only get one cut this year. That just, IWM's getting smoked, but I like the chart. Despite all of that, Rivian's making higher highs and higher lows. It's still looking okay in this move,
10,
so long
22.
As this time, you want it to stop making a base at $10.
It's got to stay up.
At some point, you got to hold 12.
We need 13. A new base.
Yeah, need a new base here on Rivian because if you buy it down at 10 and you're never taking anything out, 15, 16, 17, eventually you just end up bleeding. But we'll see how it goes.
Coffee time?
Yes, it's always coffee o'clock around here. And it's something... Thanks very much, Randy. I'll tell you, one thing is for sure. I drink at least, on average, one more cup of coffee in the winter than I do in the summer. It's the cold thing. And on the weekend... Weekend, same thing too. Mine. Like if I'm going out, we're gonna do like a snowball fight outside with my daughter. Like I literally will bring the mug outside Saturday morning.
Yeah. That's why you get those Yetis going on here.
The Yeti's a game changer.
It is a little bit. Sometimes it's cold in here. Sometimes it gets going. I don't know. We'll figure it out here. You got to get that heat going. All right. So we'll go back to the desk. We'll come back and talk more about it. We average into silos, so I don't know. We'll figure out what the average price has got to change.
a heck of a lot of volume yet, but worth noting here, Instacart, which is Maple Bear. Maple Bear is the parent company of Instacart, up 4.7% here on light volume, popped up after the close yesterday. It's going into the mid-cap, S&P mid-cap 400. So again, kind of light on the volume, but I will happily pay Instacart to go to Costco for me every single weekend. I've said that in the past. I just did the same thing last weekend. So great service.
Costco, you cannot venture into there on the weekend.
No.
At least not the one by my house.
No.
It's insane.
Not worth it.
Yeah, it's absolutely not worth it at all. All right, going to be added to the S&P, as Brendo mentioned, S&P 400 mid caps. That is going to be effective January 14th. It will replace a medical technology company known as Innovis Corp in the index, and that's obviously moving down, or Innovis is, sorry, moving down to the small cap 600. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Up already, Brendo, 4.8%, up 8 2/3 year to date. Obviously, the year is really early.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's Monday, I guess. Yeah, so Tuesday the 14th will be the first day of trade. So Monday at the close, this will take place.
The Maple Bear, Instacart is such a boringly stable stock lately. Not what I would have expected, but look, I know a lot of people since the pandemic, depending on your situation, absolutely swear by these delivery services. I love them. I think they're obviously here to stay. I don't know how exciting this is today. I'm going to call it 90,000 shares and no movement in a general sense, probably nothing burger. But when the effective date happens, we've seen what can happen at the close when you have an index action. So you got to look up on, that last 15 minutes when they do get that ad. That'll make, with any luck, that'll be an opportunity. It doesn't mean it'll be a buy and balance on that particular day. I just wanted to quickly note, we've seen this story before, but DATS, which was a runner yesterday, has announced an offering because obviously they have. They announced the pricing of a million, how big is this? 5.1 million registered direct offering priced at the market. So 5.1 million. It ran really well yesterday, and we always talk about this. Like, any one of these small caps can pull this on you at any point. It just happened, maybe bounced off the $3 level, but this got all the way up to $9 in the aftermarket, gapping down, and now an offering for DATS. So that's what's not up anymore. As fun as it was yesterday, how quickly they come back in when the company decides to take advantage of it, right? You saw some of the quantum names do this. I think it was QBTS or QUBT, I think, actually, when it crossed $5, we're able to pull this off on the way up. But DAT's down 50% now, looking pretty ugly for this small capper. And there's a bunch of other runners out there that, like we always say, like this Sana, the one with the diabetes treatment. Yeah. Their runner up 250%. No one ever went broke taking profit. I'm not saying they're going to drop an offering, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, to get out of any of these names right now, I mean, up to everybody. I mean, most of us would already still have profits. I mean, it's one thing to be like, oh, well, the move is down on a name like a QBTS, or, why is that saying? Yeah, okay, that's right. All right, I was going to say $11. That makes sense. But at the same time, you're not back that far. Like, this goes back. This is $7.50 right now on QBTS is Christmas Eve. So you're right into there, like 2 weeks, right? So it sucks to give it back, and you can see the dramatic move down 30%. I'm writing it down. It's going to be on the sticky note for short. So it's not. I'm not trying to say we need to go long here. You could get an SSR bounce, but at the same time, this is a huge move up. So easy to say you should have sold here. Maybe easy to say you should buy here. The question is, what are you doing now in the middle? So I don't really think it's a great opportunity to buy or sell these for longer term positions right now. I think if you're short, I think this could probably fall even a little bit further. But that would be sort of the buy zones. Wait for the 50-period moving average, something like that back into December. So this is what I'm looking for right now in QBTS, like a flush maybe into $5.56 maybe today, which is where we are, not too far away from that right now. So could be a little bit of a push and pull here in some of the quantum names.
Just going through a couple other things. AMD notably, we'll get into this a little bit deeper. AMD notably downside here this morning, along with some of the other semiconductors, as we mentioned early on. I mean, the guys touched on Tesla a little bit here. There's all kinds of little low float names moving around. There's Intel as well. Had a new low alert that went off on that. Back and forth kind of day yesterday. We just took out Friday's low there on Intel, so 0.7. So, I mean, semis across the board not looking good here. Nvidia is the only one kind of holding up. China is under a lot of pressure as well this morning. It's worth noting all of the ADRs, including EV names. I mean, NIO 3% right now, XPeng about the same. So
yeah,
pretty red.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. But to build on your microchip point there, Brendo, Micron up 1.5. One of the only names with Nvidia that's actually up in microchip sector. Now, I was listening to the All In podcast, and some of the participants there think that high bandwidth memory really will catch a bit of a bid going into 2025. Apparently, stock is sold out, and these components are absolutely integral to Nvidia's launch of its Blackwell products, as well as some others, obviously from AMD. So we'll keep an eye on Micron. They're already up 1.5% here, and I don't really see any major news items specifically for them other than this Singapore facility set to boost innovation, $7 billion investment there, Brendo.
Yeah, we got to keep an eye on, I mean, let's be honest, they're still driving the market in the past couple of days anyways. Adara is good to go over at the screen here with some analyst moves this morning.
Very stacked list here for the upgrades and downgrades. Probably the most that we've seen here in terms of really exciting names on both sides of the deck so far in 2025. Starting with Carvana here, we know we had that short report from Hindenburg last week. Today, though, getting an upgrade from Citigroup with a $277 price target. Coca-Cola getting upgraded by TD Cowen. Bernstein upgrading L3 Harris, which we know is a Palantir partner, though they're trading lower on the day right now. And Autodesk with a Piper Sandler upgrade. Adobe, which has gotten hit super hard since its earnings report, actually getting a downgrade here from Deutsche Bank. AMD getting a double downgrade here from buy to reduce by HSBC Securities. Wolf Research here downgrading Lennar and Deutsche Bank downgrading Dayforce. So pretty interesting here for the upgrades and the downgrades today, guys. What's the look?
In my ear, I heard see that price target
or talked about
from Fabian, and I'm guessing he was obviously talking about Adobe, because sometimes you have a downgrade, but their price target's like $475, I believe I saw. Not that it's been good for Adobe. It just actually yesterday made another 52-week low. Unfortunately for the stock. Whoops, I didn't want to go over to Micron. We'll get to that one in a little bit of a second, but. Yeah, not a very good look for them on the daily or the weekly. It feels like this is one of those where, hey, you tend to get these downgrades, not when they're at the highs. Shout out to, like, it's one thing when analysts, like when Apple's at the highs, and you still have a downgrade on Apple when the stock is churning and it's at the high. Like you're making a statement. And down, like Adobe, it's like, okay, well, since the earnings, it's dropped 20%. And we're off 50% from the highs in the last year, so now we will downgrade. No, it's fine. Like it's clearly downward trending. I still think this one might be on a collision course with the mid 300s, which would make a lot of sense at some point to pick some up. But yeah, it hasn't been a very good look for Adobe. And when we talk about continuation plays, as the market tries to bounce here a little bit, like Adobe is just continuing to. Like every time it goes sideways, the end result is it heads up lower. So until it's like the trend is in, and it's basically showing you that trend. All I was going to get at, I was going to talk about Micron, and I saw on the board there Adobe. So I was going to mention when we were talking about the chips there, Micron yesterday did not break prior day high, and has held on this pre-market. So it makes it a little bit different, or I'd say distinctly different from a lot of the other chip names, as Brendan was mentioning there. So still some room for it to get to the 200-period moving average. It's holding above the 50-period. The fact that it didn't make a fresh low yesterday puts it in at least a little bit better of a spot.
All right. Yeah, I was actually I'll address the super chat in just 1 second. Thank you so much for that and the kind words. I mean, that's literally why we're here. So I'll get to that in 1 minute. 260, 270 for Carvana. Obviously, only a month ago up to that side. You're dropping down now like $90. In this market move to the upside, here in Carvana hasn't been followed by market move wide, right? So like Nasdaq's been going down, Carvana has been going up. Some of the space here, you know, we talk about growth stocks. Growth stocks could work well in this environment. And Carvana, I mean, it's had that trajectory. It's had that move. We know it can get going. And now you get upgraded again today. I mean, I like the stock. It didn't drip that much. You know, if we would have got down a little bit lower, we really like 200 period, especially when it does have past support or resistance with it. So, yeah, I think Carvana is probably good to go. I mean, in a day where we're pretty nervous about some of these higher yielding stocks as far as on the equity side is concerned, you know, Carvana being up today is nice. So that's a good sign there. I think I didn't have to rewind to see who upgraded that yesterday. But there it is, man. Thank you so much for BGZ right here. That AMD short yesterday was amazing. I'm glad that you're able to print on it. Like I said, it was really the only positive, like significantly positive name. We did have Fubo as well, but right there yesterday, AMD, we had it in the morning and then we had it on this bump back up in there into 130, and we used it because it was that pre-market low again, 130. So once we came back up through it, we had first used sort of the 50 period up into here where we got rinsed on Nvidia, then we shorted on a bump AMD, and that was fantastic. Again, 129.50 down to 127. And then this one, BGZ, in the chat there. Thank you so much for the super chat. And I mean, look, man, we've called this advanced money destroyer for a while now, and it just keeps on. I remember when we made that, we talked, for some reason we said that, I think on the after show, the recap show there, and it was just like, okay, we'll go with it. I didn't think it was that popular, but it is. And there it is, man. Continuation play there. So like we have to get rid of our shares, but 130, it's like Tesla underneath 400. If we're going to stay underneath some of these key levels, then I think we just remain short. So thank you for that super chat there about AMD, and we'll look to see if we can put on some bangers today.
VIR, a couple of people mentioning this one, VIR Biotechnology, which is VIR ticker. Up huge here, 60%. They released some positive data early on this morning, just before 8:30 there. Phase 1 trial data for one of their treatments just coming out. So this thing's up, I mean, $8 to $13 here on relatively light volume as well. So another one to keep an eye on. I mean, it's not a tiny company, 92.5 million share float here for this one.
It's not a bad look at all, Brendo. Trading well above the volume weighted average price. And if you kind of zoom out over here, we had the initial bull flag. There's the initial move. There's the consolidation sideways in between 10 and 11.5. And there you go. You get that 11.5 break. There's the continuation. Keep an eye on this one. Small cap gappers are in play. We already have 3 triple-digit winners and with a couple knocking on the door of triple digits. So VIR certainly be on my watch today.
Yeah, this is one of those. CURR is another one. Still 110%. But well off the highs here, got through 4 early on. We're all the way back, just broke 3 downside. So volume kind of drying out on this. But yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, a ton of little tiny high flyers so far this morning. Let's get a look at the overall market here before we get going at 9.
We closed out yesterday at 59.54, so we did defend that 50-point level on a closing basis, but as you can see, we wicked down there well below that overnight, 59.26, the overnight low, with 59.75 being the overnight high. If we can get up to that high, we'll use it as resistance. If we claim 59.75 and get above it, we're looking at 6,000 as resistance.
If you haven't done so yet, make sure you jump down to the description of this video. Top link in the description will get you to the sign up page. Super easy. All you need is your email address, and then you get an absolutely free resource right to your inbox every single day. Has everything that's moving around in the pre-market and why on it. I mean, a lot to talk about this morning. Just keep in mind, again, Fed minutes coming up this afternoon at 2 p.m. We do have some economic data. 10 o'clock, then 10:30, 11 o'clock is natural gas this morning as well. Here's Apple trying to get back to positive territory right now. It was positive to start. We had a bit of a move downside 2-3 days in a row here. Pretty ugly for Apple.
Yeah, it's been a tough look here for Apple to start the new year, Brendo, especially just ask my long-term account. But with respect to the headlines today, it does seem like there is more headwinds coming out of Indonesia. Indonesia wants Apple to invest substantially in their economy in order to be able to sell the iPhone 16, and they've made that a caveat. Apple has proposed $1 billion investment, which was not sufficient for the Indonesian government, so we continue to negotiate tit-for-tat exchange. We'll have to wait and see how this this resolves?
As we've talked about many times, a lot of the overall market move going to weigh on not only Apple, but big tech in general here, guys. Good to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I mean, the Nasdaq just went back green again, though, so that's a good sign. I mean, look, Apple's still slightly red, but I'm looking over. Nvidia's up 1.5%. That looks pretty solid, at least for now. Apple's, look, it has one green. I'm not even sure this is it's like a flat day going back to the all-time high fail. And every other day, it's just been down, down, down here on Apple, heading into that 50 period, that 238 level, which was a triple top. So it's I would call it a very measured and sort of reasonable pullback into prior support. They did get that downgrade. You're right back above the support level from yesterday, which was at 241.5. So between here is about $3.50 of capture to that 238. It's just an over/under level for me. Like that's in the same levels up top from yesterday. Like nothing's really changed for Apple unless you break down underneath this 241. And then I think you can get that move into the 238 for APL. But all I see is light volume pre-market, a reestablishment of what has been the floor on Apple here at that 241.5. So shorts either breaking down underneath or waiting till it gets into 245 for a trend continuation, specifically on Apple. It doesn't seem like it's the big volume mover today, but you never really know. If it breaks this low, it's got room to go for sure.
Yeah, no, my long is 183, so we're just resetting this up. But yeah, that's okay. What a monster trade here, though, on Silo so far here today. I mean, we're able to dip by that rate into these levels. I guess they're working on it over there, Fabian. Right there into 173. Then it just popped again up into $2. So let's just keep on doing this for a minute. I'm still looking at probably getting out around 140 if it does break back down below that level because, you know, they get that approval. So it was trading at 120. It hadn't really moved at all yesterday. Then you get that huge bump up. Problem is 17 million shares. It only has a 4 or 5 million share float. This 930 can't come quick enough. Like I want this market to open up, see if we get some blasts higher here, some short covering, I guess. It's only 7% short float as of yesterday. So yeah, cover at VWAP at $2. Cover again here at 210, 215. It's Silo, man. I mean, we'll sit here and trade low cap names, mid cap names, all those caps. And we got on, I just realized this is the Blue Jays alternative hat, but I realized that it has a big Canada, the big Maple Leaf there. So it's kind of like, you know, promoting all this talk about USA and Canada, of course. Okay, so just another one here. Apple. All right, so I don't have it on the sticky note. I think it's fine. I like the stock. I mean, it's only down 0.8 right now with the NASDAQ being down, what was it, NASDAQ flat. So you're flat on the stock. I thought the NASDAQ was down, but a nice little move back up there, I guess. So basically flat on each of these names. I know that there's some negative talk, obviously, about Apple here and the cycle and what's coming through. It depends on who you talk to on the opinion of Apple. I'm just going to go with what sort of stats that I keep on seeing. And that is that Apple, you know, continues to be, and I know they lost some market share there in China. I still think the iPhone 16 had a pretty successful rollout from some of the numbers that we've been seeing. We haven't heard anything from Apple themselves or really any of the suppliers about slowdowns as far as that is concerned. Sometimes you'll hear like, oh, they've stopped, you know, putting orders through for screens or something like that, and that will come through. I haven't really heard too much about that. I really like the service business. We talk about how important it is, their watch, you know, releasing. I think that the Apple Vision Pro obviously came out at a very expensive price. But once we get that all sorted out, maybe that comes down a bit. And with Meta pushing Oculus, you know, maybe there is sort of a market there as well. AirPods are fantastic, MacBook, all that kind of stuff. And if Jensen's right and quantum computing is a fair ways away, these MacBooks are still going to be pretty hot for a while. All right, so at the end of the day, we're above 240. I'm going long. So it's the same thing about AMD under 130, under 140, under 150, Tesla under $4, under 420. You know, key levels is the important thing for me. So until we break back below 240, I'm going to be looking for dips. So if you're looking for dips, Apple down there could come in today. So we'll look for a 240 dip opportunity on Apple. And by the way, just to see if this can get going there, we'll get some out at 94 if we can. And there we go on, nope. All right, so position board still not on, which is fine. We're working on it. We are long $1.80 right now on Silo, an absolute banger of a trade right there. So yeah, let's. You're not in anything yet, or
no, I'm not
okay.
in anything. I'm not in anything right now. But we'll get it worked on. And just probably have to restart that PC there. So we talked a little bit of Apple.
Wow.
Apple wasn't the apple of anybody's eye yesterday, and neither was Tesla, unfortunately.
All right, just real quick, remember tomorrow, no equity trading. Markets are closed for the Jimmy Carter celebration of life festivities that are happening. So we are still going to be here. Lots to talk about. Brand new year, brand new ideas, brand new trades to potentially take. So join us at 9 o'clock. We're just going to go as long as we want to, essentially. No market to have a look at. So we're going to touch on trade ideas. A couple people coming through. Rahim Alani is going to join us. Michael Noss is going to join us, and we'll give all of our trade ideas for 2025. So remember, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, make sure you're with us for that. Let's go on to Tesla here. There's nothing significant today. I mean, there's the Cybertruck story we were kind of talking about today, some interesting stats. Sharif's going to fill you in on here in a second. MKPHD thinks Tesla still has the best full self-driving software. He did a whole video on everyone's FSD offerings currently, and Tesla was surprise, surprise, number one.
I got more Tesla videos, the new version 13, so stay around for the How to Trade Midday show, and I'll show you those more interesting interactions with Teslas on the road, just to put it lightly there. But look, they did have a recall, so the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration opened another investigation to the ASS feature. If you don't know what that is, it helps you call the car over in a parking lot. It drives autonomously. It's remote controlled by the app, or I believe it is the app that you control it with, and it's obviously autonomous there. So the investigation covers nearly all of Tesla's models from 2016 to this year, 2025. But just to give you it by way of comparison here, when we say recalls for Tesla, 99% of Tesla's recalls in 2024 were all software related. They affected about 5.1 million vehicles. But to compare to Ford's 2024 recalls, 70% of Ford's recalls required a physical intervention. So you have to actually send it back to the dealership, which obviously costs a lot more money, both to the customer and to the company. So when we say recalls here with Tesla, we need to really emphasize that caveat.
Yeah, the only one was that it was a floor mat.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it was like getting stuck on the brake or the gas pedal or brake pedal or something. So, I mean, it wasn't even really that big of a deal. RCAT just popping up in front of me here, getting FAA approval or authorization for unmanned drones, because that's not popular right now, without remote ID for aeronautical research, whatever that means. So RCAT just popping up here, guys.
Okay, remote ID, not sure what that means. But look, as far as Tesla goes, 400. And 400 over under today seems pretty reasonable. I don't know what that wick is about. But yeah, the prior close at 4, you bottomed out 402 a couple of days ago, pre-market lows. Once it broke, it was 400 on a T that this was resisting yesterday's trade. So if we get a rebound action, it's just as simple as if we fail at 400, we're going to look for a curl down there on Tesla. I do have, I know we brought Randy in here, and we're talking about the difference between, I suppose, Tesla and Rivian. Rivian is down a couple of points today. I think now that it's underneath 15, I'm looking back at this 13 area here on Rivian. It's the last place it bounced. I don't know if it gets there today, but maybe a couple of days from now, you could easily see it on Friday. You could see it next week. But about $13, that higher low, I'm looking for a bounce play on Rivian. I'm not saying it's going to drop 10% today, but if it were, then we'd be retesting this level. So I have that on my radar, but Tesla over under at that 400 level, look short first.
Yeah, we're going to, we put it here on our sticky note, the same thing. I mean, I've already said Tesla 400 about 5 times today. So yeah, that's, I mean, no surprise. That's what we're going to use. Same thing as what Neil was saying there. I'm staying short as long as we're under 400. It's pretty simple. I don't even really care that we'll get that board working. I'm getting more out of Silo. It just keeps on coming back up in here into $2. We're long at 180. So right now we're taking 40% on this trade. Like, Shout out to Trade the Pool. You have 4%? Okay, so there it goes. Silo, nice little move upside there. No wonder why everybody trades these names, right? All right, so big one here, Tesla. I like the stock. I mean, I think it's worth buying down here. I already talked about that with Randy. Down here at 375, 360 would be the ultimate low if we can get into 360 at the 50 period. I like that stock. I'm just overall nervous, and I wrote that on the sticky note today. Actually, all of the ideas are short today. And it's just, I didn't like what we saw yesterday. The market fell out. It didn't have much of a bid on many names. If we're going to lose some big cap names, it could happen 2-3 days in a row, back to back to back. We do have the jobs number coming on Friday. There's a lot of things to be nervous about. And honestly, some of these big, huge runners that have happened since pre-election, post-election, are starting to come out a little bit. And so one negative story on Tesla does send it downside. We got that delivery number. And now I'm not really focused too much on any outside stories unless something major hits, because every day there's something on Tesla. So we just have to look at the technical levels. And so for me, yesterday, there's 400 right there. It's pretty easy yesterday. To not have been up yesterday on Tesla, I didn't even trade it, I don't think. I think we might have tried. No, I don't even think we looked at it. But right there, 400, 400, 400, 400, 400, 400 again right there, basically. And then 400 at the close, but you'd have had to have the long to make money on that. And then whoop, all the way down again here today. So I think Tesla has an opportunity to get back into this area. So that's why I wrote down 398 to 400. That's the short zone. We'll be sitting there taking it and hopefully not getting run over. But if we do, then we have an out, 400.
All right, real quick on MicroStrategy here. Something that's not Bitcoin related, so got to throw it out there. They created this strategic partnership with a company called Stackit Form to leverage MicroStrategy's one and facilitate data-driven decision-making through organizations. Didn't move at all on that, but something that's not about Michael Saylor buying more Bitcoin, so worth a note. RGTI, we mentioned if you were with us in the first 30 minutes here, continuing to quickly, 2 days in a row, downside. If you missed it, Jensen came out and said, don't hold your breath for anything quantum for at least 15 years, which is probably accurate, but these stocks have just been insane.
Oh, they've been parabolic since the election. We talked about that to start off the show. Yeah, so the godfather of AI. In other words, Jensen Huang obviously had the keynote at CES and made very specific comments about what he thought about quantum and the timeline here. So he says, look, he downplayed the near-term potential of quantum computing, which is obviously competing with his product. He predicts a 15 to 30-year timeline before it becomes widely used. His comments come as Analyst Day, Nvidia's Analyst Day in question and answer session that he suggested 20 years as a reasonable timeline for significant adoption. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. Separately here, QUBT and some of these other stocks, Fabian, reacting to the Jensen's comments. But I want to make a very quick technical analysis point here on QUBT. We definitely had resistance at $9. We rejected that level multiple times. We're about to break 12 right now. So if that $9 area comes in on QUBT, should be an interesting buy.
Yeah, what a fall over a very short amount of time. Real quick, Micron here just popping up. Just seeing a story, Micron breaking ground on a $7 billion HBM packaging facility in Singapore as of today. So a couple of positive days in a row here if you missed it yesterday. It was the new GPU that Nvidia launched containing Micron memory. That was part of the catalyst yesterday. So back upside right now.
So 375 is Rigetti's price to sales, or at least it was probably yesterday. 12 million in revenue. 12 million in revenue. $4.5 billion company, although that $4.5 billion valuation is probably as of yesterday's close. QBTS D-Wave is very similar. It has like 9 million in revenues, and it's multi-billion valuation as well in this rally. So I think it's just they were probably all looking for an excuse to correct at some point for some profit taking. This was a momentum play, and the momentum on almost all of these is now broken. So QBTS has really broken the trend, I think, the most, down this 33%. We also happen to have them free locates at Real Trading, whereas you pay a little bit for QUBT and you pay some for Rigetti. IonQ is also free. But once the open happens, I'm just going to look for a pop and curl, like mean reversion type play. I'm not going to short any bottoms on this. And I sat down. I mean, 8 looked like an obvious resistance area. This is just 8 p.m. dark pool dumping. It didn't really actually get up there. We were basically trading at the highs about 760. I thought we could get some kind of an SSR bounce that would take us into the 8 level. But I'm just going to look for that simple like mean reversion plays. If I see it go up off the open, VWAP could be in play, like an over-under at 7, or these pre-market resistance levels. Want to be patient because they're all going to be uptick rule in effect at the open. All of them are going to be over down 10% to the downside. So just a little bit of patience, but I am looking for the continuation short. Specifically QBTS because we have those free locates. I did pay for QUBT. That's the other one I take. I just feel like if there's real panic selling, these two are kind of the worst of the bunch.
Okay, thanks. As we continue to watch this silo here, thanks Tisha and everybody for the respect and love on this trade. We love being here with everybody every single day. Look, the only quantum name that I wrote down, and Neil just covered it, so there's not much for me to do, but is QBTS. So I wrote down fade into $8. We pop it into $8 and then fade the pop. So if it gets into there, that's the 200 period moving average. That's what I'm looking to get. It's down 32% right now, and that sucks, obviously, as we've already talked. I mean, we talked about this 45 minutes ago when we sort of came on air, and I was like, this name, you can't be too upset with a move like this because you're in it for huge moves, I would think. It was very consolidating up here, and then you get a negative story, right? I mean, you could have got a positive story. He could have said something else, Jensen, and gone the other way, but this is the risk. It's very, very headline dependent. Neil just ran over some of the numbers. They suck. Some of these companies not even making any products, anything. They're just pipe dreams right now, and that's fine. You pay up for those. But then when you get negative headlines, these kind of moves can happen. So the only thing that I was thinking about, and I've said this, and I've been lazy doing this, so I think, if someone else has done it, that's good, send it to me. But Oklo, only down 6%. We talked about how Altman was in this as well. And again, this is what I mean. Like, I don't know if he's a board member. I don't know anything about if there's an investment by any AI companies or anything like that invested into this Oklo, but only being down 7% to me is interesting coming into a top here, 26, 27. If this happens to give back, 3 days ago, and we can get back into $22, I mean, this 50 period, although this move started back in October, of course, it's held every time. So I would think that this is probably the safest play, $23 to $24 on OKLO. So if we get real spicy up in here, this could be the spot to look. Like if all of a sudden QBTS is down like 50%, 60%, and this is, which I don't think so, and this is catching some more drift, this is where I'm going to go for the long OKLO. And then obviously the big boy here, unfortunately, I didn't get anything out. At the top, we just double topped it pretty clean. Like if you're going to be a technical guy or analyst, male, female, this top, I mean, that's twice in a row that you wicked these tops. The last time we had sort of a topping event, this was only 5 days, but it did signal this downside move. So I think we got to be also pretty nervous about like a 186, 187 potential test here for Google in the coming days as well, if not even today. So we're gonna be careful with all of this. It's funny because the price of these stocks, and I learned it with Meta, they're so high, like a 2% move down is like whoosh, like you can lose that. Are we waiting for you to do an ad?
I think it's all good. We get.
Okay, we'll have to fix that. Go ahead.
Let's take it away for Hive Digital Technologies, HIVE on the NASDAQ. They're pioneering the digital transformation through sustainable AI solutions and Bitcoin mining. A global leader in cutting-edge data center operations with over 2,700 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Hive consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined for exahash and is redefining the future by powering the world's most transformative technologies with efficient, green, and clean energy. Learn more by following them at Hive Digital on socials or at hivedigitaltech.com and sign up for the Hive newsletter for updates. Scan that QR code. Check the link in the description of this video. Just one thing before we go back up to the desk, another offering on one of these small cappers. This time it's BHAT, so Blue Hat pricing a 3.9 million registered direct offering of 55.95 million ordinary shares at 7 cents a share, now down 28%. So between DAT and BHAT, that is now two that have taken the plunge in the pre-market from runners that we had that were running stocks that were running yesterday in the small cap base. Just be careful. I feel like with the quantum and all this, people are taking advantage of the recent rallies in some small cappers, and which is what companies should do. I mean, the idea is to be able to raise capital when they get appreciation. So you can't really hate them for doing it, but it doesn't ever look good when you're holding the stock.
No, you want to avoid those. All right, what doesn't look good too is your portfolio if you own AMD.
It's true.
Yeah, downside this morning. Kind of an interesting story here in relation to AMD. ABSCI, which is ABSI, the ticker, up 40% here this morning on this. AMD going to invest $20 million into ABSI. And I mean, there's been a lot of people that have had this opinion in the past, but I think this is actually one of the more promising and kind of cool things to watch out for when it comes to AI, and that's the drug side of things and the pharmaceutical side of things on how they can create new drugs.
It definitely shortens the length of the product development or the drug development, if you could call it that. So here's what the key benefits include according to the company. Improved performance for biologic modeling. So biologics are a different type of drug. They're not chemically based, so keep that in mind. Also reduced infrastructures for AI workloads and faster innovation cycles, as we kind of just talked about there. That's the good side of things for AMD, but they also did catch a downgrade, Brendo. HSBC double downgrading AMD from buy to reduce, slashing the price target markedly here from 200 to 110. This follows a 24% drop in AMD shares price over the past 3 months. Here are the reasons. So HSBC said they are highlighting concerns about AMD's AI GPU roadmap, citing it as less competitive than initially expected. They're also worried about the MI325 GPU launch, saying it received a lukewarm response, partly due to the issues with high bandwidth memory vis-a-vis Samsung. We know Samsung's involved in that, as well as SK Hynix and Micron. And then AMD also expects to release the MI350 in late 2025, but it will lack a competitive AI edge, as apparently, according to Analyst, it's already behind Blackwell, and it hasn't even been released yet.
We'll keep an eye on it. Gap is filled from last week on this move downside here. We're trying desperately to hold on to 125 here, guys. What's the deal here for AMD?
Well, yesterday, I'll just go over, we got a super chat earlier about yesterday's trade on AMD, and I just wanted to say, like, we didn't even trade it until the end. Here it was yesterday. We didn't trade this until basically 10:30 when we had that huge move down off the open there in all of the chip names, and AMD bounced back, hit the 50-period moving average, and then boom to the downside, and that was just like planting those purple flowers. And then we were starting to cover more here as we came back. We didn't have too many shares left, but we started to cover into this area. Once we broke through the 200, it was gonzo. Get our last piece out right there. Then it came up into 130. Now, you can't see it right now, so I'm going to zoom out of that, but I just wanted to show you that we were on this, and it was the number one P&L name yesterday, so I'm glad it's on the list here again today. And then you could see the trade yesterday, the 130 was right into here. This pre-market sort of low that once we broke. I mean, you know, realistically, that's 930, right? So like the market's already open here. So these are the pre-market levels right into here, which is 130 almost right on. So once we had broke through that, we actually had a bump up at 10 o'clock, which is why we're like, what? AMD is strong? Once that came back in like that and fell through, there's the short again, and then there's the short at 130 on the pre-market level. So if you're going to look at AMD, I have Nvidia written down as the number one trade for me again today, even though I was saying this to Obi, it's like he and I lost on Nvidia yesterday, so it was obviously a bloodbath for the stock, but we'll wait to see today. We'll get some revenge on it. I'll talk about that in a minute. Not revenge. We're just going to go back and see if maybe it takes it on us. But what about this pre-market high right here of 125.20? So like that would be, if you're going to short the name, I would think you got to try it at 125 into 125.50, because then you have a huge gap fill up to 127. So it's very dangerous to trade it in this area. So I would say if you're looking short right now, you kind of got to use like 125.50 probably as your out, because you don't want it to drift up into here, and then you have to make a decision down $2, $3, which sometimes I'll make that trade. And it's just like, why am I short when you should be short here? So to me, the short would still be getting it back to green. So 127.50 at the high. So I'd be shorting up here, for sure if it rakes that run. We'll already be short Nvidia though, if that happens. And then on the downside, really, I don't have a level right now to punch short because you're already bouncing off VWAP. If we use the same strategy as yesterday and we short the pre-market bottom, that's 123. So I guess you could go there. I don't know. For some reason I don't have like a very good feel on AMD right now.
I think if it goes up, I'm going to look for a mean revert, but there's a lot of garbage between 126 quarter and where we bottomed out yesterday. So on the 15-minute, this close here, but then it's just a gap that lost, a failed breakout. So really the resistance is in and around 126. So if it pops up, mean revert type trade. At the open, so often you go to short a pop and it gets to the level and you put the short on. No, this time it actually always want to let it do some kind of a reverse of a trend if this one's going to go to the upside. And you already mentioned Nvidia. Nvidia's got a pretty tight range with yesterday's afternoon highs and a flat bottom at 140. And I just want to remind everybody that Intel, it's not an all-time low break, but it is the 1975. This is a flat bottom here on Intel, down 0.7. If we lose this bottom, Intel has its all-time, it has its 52-week low that's in play if it breaks that 1975. So it looks like that one could be breaking this morning. Some room. It's like 1875 is a local bottom, and then like 1850 is the 52-week low on Intel.
So just really quickly, because it is number one trade here, it is on the sticky note. You can go find it at Trader TV. Sean, with only 4 minutes to go, we'll talk about crypto. But look at Nvidia. Yesterday we were like trying to buy this dip. Horrible. Thank God we stopped in and around here. But that's where I want to short again. So I just feel like if Nvidia, we get a nice little bump up. There's a buy imbalance on Nvidia right now. So that's a nice move to the high side. I can actually show it to you. We're looking to go short. Okay, sell on Rigetti. There it is. Buy on Nvidia right there, 581,000 shares. A sell on IonQ. There's a buy on that BHAT that Neil talked about. There's an XTIA. So there's a lot of big names. There's Fubo on there. So there's some runners on the list. We got to go, but right into here. This is 145 into 146. So this is the area that I'm concerned with Nvidia. And man, we can get there easily. It's up 1.47%. If I'm thinking short today, let this thing run up if it wants to go, and then maybe we'll catch it on the downside. I'm already offering those prices on Nvidia. Okay, back to the desk as crypto breaks 100.
IBIT continuing to slide down 1% right now after a big down day yesterday. If you zoom out a little bit, though, a lot of support coming into play in the next little while here, potentially around 54 down to 52 for IBIT, the ETF. Obviously, there's no real significant story to mention here today.
No, I have a technical perspective to this. So Bitcoin dropped aggressively in price yesterday. You guys already know that, but it's the relative strength index that's very important to me here. So have a look at this over here. So before we had that big move down, Fabian, on Bitcoin, we were in an overbought position at 87.5, and then we dropped markedly, taking down that 20 point area on the RSI, and we had a 7.5 print. Now this is important here. So for Bitcoin dropping to oversold levels, hitting that 8.5 on the hourly, that was the lowest it had done that since trading at the $60,000 level. So historically, Bitcoin often rebounds after entering oversold RSI territory, especially in these bull markets. So we'll have to keep an eye to see what Bitcoin does today.
Thoughts, guys, for crypto today?
Yeah, so once we're underneath that 98 again, 97.5, 98 level, which we obviously are, Mara failed support at 20 in the afternoon. 1950 was the short level, and that went to 19. Today, pre-market tops are in front of 19, so 20, 19.5, 19. Unless we're breaking out above 98 again on BTC, shorts into 19 on Mara. It's got a pretty big gap fill because of the rally that it had on the third, but let's just see what it can do. If it does bounce up, looking to short the pop there, and specifically Mara, that's when I like shorting when Bitcoin is weak.
Similar kind of talk there. We already, we're looking at the 15-period moving average. I think right now, with the market pulling back in, we got to stay looking short on crypto. And then, choice is always on IBIT, but I've also said too that I thought Coinbase right now, we only have less than a minute left, but I thought Coinbase was a good opportunity, kind of like a proxy here, that if Bitcoin falls and you get sort of alt season happening again, Coinbase, does benefit from altcoin trading as well. So, I think that Coinbase has an opportunity here down at 240 if we can get a little bit lower on that. That's where I'd be looking to pick some up here. Apparently Roblox popping a little bit, which is fine. All right, so here we go. We are almost ready.
Oh yeah, Roblox up 3%, looking pretty good there.
That was.
There is a sizable imbalance on D-Wave to the buy side of 1.5 million shares worth watching, but this Hump Day Bell brought to you by Hive Digital. Check them out, HIVE on the NASDAQ. So Adara, Hump Day, Fed Minutes Day in 2 and 1, ring it.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that Fed minutes situation.
Well, they're usually kind
happening.
of boring.
All right. Okay, so let's do this, man. I mean, we're here right now. We're ready to rock and roll. The NASDAQ is pulling back a little bit, but pretty flat here to start with. NASDAQ down 0.1, S&P 500 down 0.1 as well. So a little bit of a mixed bag. We'll zoom in just a little bit to see if we can see something here on Tesla. Tesla 394 high. We wrote down 398. Let's see if the market wants to run or not on TSLA. My out on Silo is a breakthrough 160. I don't have any offers out other than a lot higher than this. So we're at 217 to get some out right now. 225, 250s for SILO. Let's go, man. It is going to be one of maybe the biggest trade percentage-wise, but we're going to wait for quantum names as well. Actually, forgot to look at quantum names. All right, Silo's starting to go a little bit. Maybe we'll take something out.
Quantum names oddly quiet at the open here. So
Okay.
I think you got to give them a heart. If a stock is down 30%, or some of them 20%, I think you'd be able to be patient. I was expecting maybe you'd get an SSR bounce and we fade off a VWAP here at $7 even. Nvidia does not charge up in the 143. It kind of tags 142.5 and coming back in. AMD already heading to the downside, so it doesn't even test 126 there on AMD. It's already fading. Intel hasn't broken that flat bottom at 1975. It's about 12 pennies away. So decent chance that could be the first thing while we, I guess, await some action on the quantum names. It's QBTS is the one I'm watching the most closely. I haven't really checked for Getty just yet, but QBTS, if it does make a pop, still looking for that 7 fade, while AMD's now at the lows already. That one's flushing. Yeah, it could be Intel first.
Okay, yeah. By the way, I mean, let's just keep on going with this one. Let's hit the sirens up right now. The only trade we've got on right here is Silo, and it is an absolute monster there to the north side for SILO. All right, so Nvidia, Neil just talking about AMD. I trying to pick my poison a little bit with NVDA, but it's still not there. Wow, Silo is just Moon City, Mr. Roberts. There it goes, 250 coming into play right now on SILO as we clean it out, man. Almost $1 in the money on a $2 name. Shout out to Tisha, shout out to everybody there that is with us right now. There it goes. It is SILO on what is just an absolute banger right there. We've still got on about like 30% of this. Does it look like it might want to halt? We're waiting at 295 for this one. Huge move up there for SILO. Nvidia does pop a little bit, but then fades back out again. So yeah, 143.50. Maybe we got to start there. I'm just going to watch out for Silo.
Yeah, the Silo is, well, you know what? It's a great show. It's a great trade. That's actually a really good show on Apple TV. But QBTS just made a monster bottoming tail candle here. It does feel like if it doesn't pop after this kind of a rejection of the lows, might just have to take a breakdown. I don't think we're going to get $7, unfortunately, on this. We thought we'd go pop and fade. There just isn't a pop to be had here on QBTS. Nvidia is still, why is Nvidia doing nothing when AMD is absolutely tanking?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, AMD is really tanking. Intel hasn't broken the low, which doesn't make any sense. AMD's down 4% and continuing. Why isn't Intel broken that low? Intel doesn't want to hold and break underneath that bottom. Oh, we forgot Micron. Micron does not hold on to support and it just turned red. So I still like this, but prior day low and then previous day high was at 101.5. That's the only spot I'm going to look for bounce on that name. So I'm going to give QBTS another chance here to maybe try to bounce, but it looks like it is just going to be flat bottom breaks on these. if you take an even dollar break, remember it's short sell restricted. So it's not like you can guarantee you're going to get a fill if you hit the bid as it's going through a level. Shorting the pops is generally what you want to do on these SSR names.
Okay, we've got a new position alert right here, guys. So we'll watch out for it, but it's in there right now, and that is going to be AMD. We just talked about what we liked on it, where we liked it, and it just broke through that 123 level. So we're going to start the short now. We've missed it already. We're not in this very many shares. We don't want to just like pile into stuff in case. Okay, there goes Tesla, by the way. We are really starting. Okay, so we're starting to get upside.
Tesla's at 390.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm short right now on Tesla. But right now, AMD short against 123.30s. Okay, that's our short. We are now into another position right now. It's Tesla. So there goes Tesla all the way up to that 400 level. This is the spot that we thought we liked. So now, okay, it's here. So we are now short at 398.40s here on Tesla. Let's see if we can get some 397s or so, and then we'll work on it from there. But there it goes, Tesla all the way to the upside. The level that we wanted is here on TSLA.
Yeah, Tesla getting right up there with the market as well, trying to break out these local highs. I did get Mara going into that 19, but here's a NASDAQ. 3 or 4 times we've tested 21.4. Looks like we're headed for another test of that level. Some strength coming in. Bitcoin's trying to take that 96. Still so weak on AMD relative to Nvidia. This is going to be worth monitoring because Nvidia is doing that. There's like that higher low both like holding on to VWAP. It's almost at this pre-market high, also going to be yesterday afternoon's 143. So that is the curl. Still no real trade intel because that just popped back up to $20. So the move to the upside is very real here.
Yep.
But I'm only in Mara, shorting this one back into VWAP. As it pulls back in, we'll still get the 18.6, 18.7 for first outs.
Guys, big trade alert here on AMD, man. We're short at 122.80. Big trade alert right there. And $2 now in the money on Tesla. Oh, boy. So far, so good. What's up, Adara?
Right off the open, up about 8.7%. Meta announcing earlier this morning that they're going to be testing this feature that will allow buyers to browse listings from eBay on Facebook Marketplace. So some Facebook Marketplace eBay integration here being announced by Meta. EBAY up about 9% with a 4.38% short float, guys. Back to you.
Guys, right now, we have 3 positions, Neil, all of them more than $1 right now. And that's including Silo, which is right now in the money. We've got AMD, we've got Silo up to $3, and we've got Tesla down to $3.97. So big trade alert right now over here as we just fade the plays, man. We talked about trying to be short today. That's exactly what we are. We're taking some more out, though, as this is really starting to get juicy, man. Great opportunity to get short today. And there it goes, man. Stay on that bear. If check nothing out, man, the sticky note, all we wrote down was shorts and all we talked about all morning was the bearish sentiment. So we go short right there. We'll go 3 for 3 and they're absolute monsters, Neil. There it goes. Look at that, $3 on Silo. We just took some out right there. This name might not stop.
Might not stop, but the market is not stopping either. We're headed back in. I only have one position. One stock came to our level. Test of 19 on Mara. 1 in on the curl. This time, always try to preach patience or talk patience, but I feel a little bit better about this one. Waited for it to make the top, get the wick high. When it failed the high, then jump into the short on the mean revert, right back into the low of 18.5. So we risk about 5 cents if you take an average price there, because I have a couple of entries, and we'll work it back into that low. Still nothing to be said about QBTS. It broke 6.
Come on, Tesla.
So didn't get the break on $6. I didn't get a fill when it broke that low. Remember, these stocks are SSR, so short sell restricted. 40% to the downside on QBTS, and it's also Rigetti as well. All of these names absolutely bleeding. 40% now on Rigetti as that just broke $11 to the downside. Next available pop. I mean, that's all you can try to do is hit the even dollar break or take the next available pop. So in 1 for 1 as you start to head nastily to the downside. Yikes. Why are there no halts on these?
Dude, we are $1.80 in the money, and our price is $1.80. Like, I don't know why Silo's not even halting up there as well, but it's not. And right now, Tesla, big trades again, man, as we start to get out of some of this, as we start to head a little lower. I don't want to, like, just get out of everything on Tesla because we want to make sure that, you know, if the move does, I mean, there it is, we take another 50 fill, but if the move really does continue to the downside, we want to make sure that we do have some shares because, again, over and over and over again, we're posting up these levels. There it is. Holy crap, Neil. This is really starting to get going now as Tesla down into 395, starting to get lower right now. If you're here for banger trades, Neil's got on the Mara. I've got on AMD now, $1 in the money, $4 in the money, Sharif, right now as the traders are in the building again today, down into 394 one more time for Tesla as that goes downside here. So the banger on Mara, Silo's on here as well. AMD's kicking. We're good to go right now. Watch out for crypto, 95 and change. We're doing good, man. We are almost out of all of Silo up here at 3 and change.
The rock star to the upside is Silo, but the market just broke contained to the downside, everybody. Watch out. First pop into $6 on QBTS.
Wow.
So it's finally made some kind of a green candle since the open. Prior high is at 610. So I'm going to give it to about 615. You're kidding me. You put an off. You got to be. Wow. Throw an offer, and it just absolutely drops to the downside. These stocks are going nowhere but down. So continuing to bleed. Still want to catch that first one. There is another banger to the upside. It's a white Nubian King in the chat. I don't know why I found that a little bit amusing. Palantir almost got back to the 70 level. So Palantir got to 69.5. Remember, 70 to 71 was a monster support level. To me, support to resistance is one of the simplest strategies, but here's the mean reverse. Obviously, falling back in and looking relatively nasty here is Palantir. I still think the short is going to be the way to go until you break out some of those prior highs. Intel still hasn't broken, so we're trying to be patient with it. That in QBTS, Intel breaks the low, and we're going to be taking that breakdown. Just hasn't done it yet, but it's only a matter of time.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. Yeah, we're just trying to slow down a little bit here because I'm trying to analyze some of the levels. Like our net is like is doing well today. So we're you know what a difference a day makes. But remember I told you guys like we're coming back today. Like we're coming back for this. And this is it right there. Now holding $6 in the money on these trades, and that's including Silo, which is we're getting more and more out. I'm starting to get more out of AMD right now at 90s. Again, we got that super chat yesterday. I almost think this trade's better, and it's only $1 and change in the money when we took 3 or 4 yesterday on AMD. The reason why is because we got going early on this one. We played that 123 break, and the thing is like. We sit here all the time and is like, wow, it didn't get to our levels. Yeah, I mean, AMD didn't get to my levels either, right? I mean, it didn't, Neil mentioned 126, like that. Same thing with Nvidia. I didn't even look at Nvidia today because I'm like obviously obsessed with these names. But, you know, once this broke 123 and we talked about that, remember I was like, I'm not that confident on AMD and all of a sudden now it is what it is. But once we broke that 123 and we went like this, and then Neil's like, AMD's weak, AMD's weak. I was like, all right, we remembered the 123 level. So we wanted to start the short. We started the short at 40s, actually. It was bad. And then it ripped up into that 123 level. And that's where it was like game on. And then boom to the downside. So it's like, this is part of that intuition. You know, we talk about that as traders. Like, it's not just, let's just throw out some levels and hope they get filled. Sometimes the market, and by sometimes I mean all the time, is a living and breathing thing that you adapt to as the market's ongoing right now. So as you can see, we're obviously favoring the shorts here, as all of us are now, well, both he and I, are net short now.
Well, probably most people are short.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I mean, you know, I've been known to get caught going the other way on some of these plays.
Well, it actually depends on stock. I'm sure there's something up right now.
Yeah, Silo's the biggest trade of the day. It's just a matter of it's not a tech name. So there's out of Silos all around 320, man. We are pretty much out of this. I'm going to put my stop now at 240. Unbelievable. The stop on this trade, we were long at 173. The stop was 160. We put that out there, 13 cents to make almost $1.50 there at the top. So, all right, let's see if the market continues to bleed down, man. I'm just doing nothing but talking right now and holding on to some of these shorts. What's up, Adara?
We have this push down in Micron. MU had a pretty good day yesterday, especially compared to the rest of the chip. names. It was poised for a good day today, now down about 2.5%. Could not find a negative catalyst for this name, but we do have one that could be pretty interesting, announcing that they've broken ground here on the $7 billion AI-driven memory facility here in Singapore. So MU with a $7 billion facility in Singapore on watch, down though actually below that $100 level right now, guys.
Finally got QUBT. So not, sorry, QBTS. I'm
Really?
I just psyched myself out because as I was saying QUBT, obviously that's what I type into the level 2. Because that's what happens. That's how the human brain works. But it just tagged $6 on a retake and then right back into the low at 560, bouncing. Now it's got this obvious range here from 558 into $6. Need a range break of the low, and then every even dollar is a thing. If you pull out the chart, $5 kind of lines up with a prior high, and then the 50 period probably doesn't matter on a stock like this, but it happens to be down at 450. I don't know where the bottom is going to be on this. I was telling Sean, why can't I enter orders? Oh, that's why. All right, so I was telling Sean there was a really good article, if anyone hasn't read it, well, not article, but a good thread by Martin Shkreli. And I don't know why he knows so much about quantum, but it's worth a read if you catch it, although he's very bearish. So took it out. If we play this range again, I might take a reload. If it does another pop and fade off of QBTS at this $6 level, as far as Mara goes, it is at the low and bouncing. Now back at VWAP, so we scalped pretty much all of it out, holding on to the last 15%. If it breaks 1845 as the low of the day, I think we had to look for a separate trade here on Mara. Like that's a big gap fill underneath. So it's either shorts into 19 or it's breakdown here on MARA. Intel does make the low break. Prior bottom is 1985. So it's short there, out if it breaks that. If it breaks 20, this could actually turn into a bit of long. So just trying to keep the structure the same. And Nvidia, which we haven't made a trade on, headed toward that high. So still, Nvidia looks like it's kind of strong relative to everything else that is shorting or hitting those lows. Strong day for Nvidia, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I was looking here, something similar, and just wondering about what exactly is happening right now with AMD. So here's AMD right here. And it's starting to loop up a little bit. So I'm starting to get a little lighter and not at great prices. Like these are 30s. So we have a 25 and a 30, then that last one right there is a 40. Okay, here it comes back into a 30 again. I am bidding 22s. That was one of my last fills. So hopefully that will come back and we'll get that fill right now on that space. So it did make a move up. You know, there are opportunities to fade pops for sure. There it is. Okay, we get to 22, so that's all good. But that was just going to be one of the plays that we were going to look at here as this market continued to sort of drag lower, was possibly reloading. So I'm still there at 123. We did miss it, so it came up into 80. Low 80s. We'll be there again if it does happen. All right, Tesla, again, was making them in nerves, as my old Nana would say. Sean, are you making them in nerves? But right there, now it comes back to the downside here. Whenever we used to get into a car or whatever, everything would always make her nervous. All right, so here we go. Now there, we'll take something out at 95 if we can. We bid to 94 there instead of 95s, but it don't matter. Right there, there's $3 as Tesla hopefully will make that move down. We do have, I just heard in my ear, if we check out our watch list today, and I want to thank everybody for watching, man. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I mean, if you're here for big runners, it's silo time. If you're here for tech names, it's AMD and Tesla time. You're here for crypto, Neil's got Mara on board as well. At 10 o'clock, though, I don't see anything on economic numbers. So I just heard it in my ear, but on our watch list, I do not see anything, which is fine. There's a good out on Tesla as it's starting to bounce back up a little bit now as well. So Tesla right now upside. What's up, A?
There's actually a minor thing here on the economic calendar. It wasn't on the watch list because it wasn't actually populating until just now, but at 10 a.m., we are going to be having some wholesale sales data. It looks like it's a revision. Either way, we will cover that at 10 a.m., not to worry. Now, in terms here of stocks on the move, CURR, this is Currents Group. They're going to be on watch here. Just pulled back, but they were just up about 200%. Pretty volatile, hanging out around that $4 level. This company announcing that it's launched an AI call center. So keep an eye on CURR with a Where's the market cap on this one? Market cap about $280 million. Trading currently around 8,000 RVOL, guys.
Thank you, Adair. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that one. There it is, man. And we do it again and again and again. There's another reload on AMD. We just talked about that price we were waiting for. And we got it, right? We got those 90s. So we got 91 reload there on AMD. We'll put 40 cents in our pocket. Puff, puff, pass over to you, Mr. Roberts, because right now, man, we smoking.
Smoking to the downside, still everything. Although the market is flat, you got to be in the names that are moving. So Quantum going. Chip names are going. Meta has one of the nastier candles at the open. I'm only monitoring this because that is a hefty bottoming tail candle on Meta, and if the market goes, Meta looks like a long off of that candle. So if it holds on to VWAP and the market starts taking highs, I think you got to start thinking other direction in Meta, along with Nvidia, which you can't ignore the fact that Nvidia is strong here. Nvidia is holding higher lows. It's trying to break out that top. This could end up being a bit of a joiner. QBTS and Rigetti and all of those other names continue to trend lower. I don't know that there is like a bottom, but anytime it does a big mean reversion where it just trends down like this and does a mean revert, I want to jump out of it and short the next available pop. So still working to the downside. Rigetti is now at Rigetti just broke 10, is at 9.5 and continuing lower. What the heck? These are all really nasty. IonQ as well, absolutely bleeding. Now it's $30 on IonQ. I'm going to set up one of these I'm going to want for a mean reversion if it does any kind of like a panic candle or series of candles like this just for a scalp trade. And if one of them halts, that could be the moment that it happens. So I'm going to watch out for any potential halts as well on some of these quantum names. Not a very good start for them. But Nvidia up 2% and climbing toward the high. Like there's plenty of strength if you want to look hard enough to find it. Nvidia's about to take out high day.
Yeah, that's crazy. We got taken out there on AMD, but it did. Okay, I'm going to try to get back in. It did hit that VWAP level, so we got to watch out now. I'm going to put it a little bit higher. I actually didn't realize that VWAP had sort of come in so close to those levels. We never want to get stopped out exactly on those levels. So we will not take many more shares. We'll try it right here, right now. As Neil keeps on mentioning, Nvidia ripping upside. Our target for Nvidia, I'm still there with the offers. So it's still 144, 145, 146. So we're nowhere near it for us on Nvidia. But right here, though, we are on this one, and that is going to be Silo. We take out some more at 285. Our stop, remember, is 240. So if that breaks below that, or 245, something like that. If it breaks below, yeah, so VWAP just keeps changing. It's 245. So we'll take it out another piece there and get lighter and lighter on that one. Tesla, again, what? I thought I was bidding 395. You got that fill right there. My bad. Okay, so we were bidding 395. We just touched down to 394 again. Let's not put any bids on Tesla now until we get to the low of this move. So 393. I'm going to put a bid right there now on Tesla at 393. What I was meaning by smoking, the market is not, and that's why I'm like, really excited about the trades that we have on today because it's like the market's not really doing anything, yet we've been able to really, hit some winners. And it's just the way the market sometimes trades and gives you these situations. It's like trade the strong names to the strong side, to the long side, trade the weak names to the south side. And, when they happen for you. Just like you had that, I don't know what happened to QBTS there, but that was
it just came out. Rigetti did a pretty, now it's at the lows again. All right, so a second ago, Rigetti did this huge move through $10, and then right after it just smoked back up through the $10 level. So I put a trailing stop. I was going to look for a reversion trade, but I kind of feel like the long is wrong on these, obviously. But at that moment, I did trail out of QBTS when Rigetti made that move. And then Rigetti's right back at the low of the day. Like, these quantum names are absolutely dying. Bitcoin just got to 95 even.
Let's go.
And so Mar just broke the low. 18 even is going to be the next obvious target because 19, 18 half, every single even dollar level or half dollar level going to have to be it. Market continues to work into the downside. Nvidia just lost the top and continues lower. And the quantum
Look at
quantum
Tesla.
names just continue to flush, man. It's
Guys, we just put a 393 bid. Remember we said we're going to wait for 393. Neil, this is $6 now in the money on the trade. Like and you talked about it, I talked about it. We talked about this name coming up to 400. How close to 400 do you need? 399 25s right there. So this trade alone right now is $1.80, $2 worth of risk right now. To go 3-1, yeah, that's that would always pretty much. We'll see, Randy. Okay, so right down into here. Here it comes in again into 29, and that's a good point, Randy. Like not everybody every day is going to be green or red, right? I mean, it's just like despite this market going down, you could have completely opposite opinions sometimes, and it's just like yesterday what we talked about with. Look at that reload on AMD though. Oh my God, we are now at the highest spot we've been at all day, and what a difference a day makes, Randy, is what I was trying to get out here. Right now we're doing pretty good. Look, I mean, we only have 3 names today, right? I mean, this is a monster runner. This is probably, could be even P&L number 1 at Real Trading, the stock, maybe SILO, huge move up right there. And then as we had listed on our sticky note, it's always the best when it actually works out. And there it is right there, Tesla, 398 to 400, Randy, written on there right there as the top of the day. 398 to 400. And then AMD, as we've all talked about, being weak. So we have only 3 trades today, and they're all right where we need them to be. So yeah, so far so good. I might go for, do you mind grabbing another coffee? I was going to go for a walk, but I got these positions on here and without more trades.
Usually always want to get the coffee when you get a chance. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you sneak into games there. I know you don't mean me is a legend, but SEAN, this individual potentially is a legend. So I used to have a friend in high school. We had Sean there, spelled that way. So shout out to you. Thank you so much, sneak into games there again. We will sneak into a big time trade today. So, there goes Silo downside. So, all right, let's go, man. Right now, P&L number 1, realized P&L number 1, SILO. AMD right now, Neil, on the reload, another 75 cents.
Yeah, great look. Like I said, the quantum names are catching a bit of a bid here. So I'm going to back away, wait for it to make some kind of a pop. It's just about patience as far as I'm concerned. I think that's what boded well yesterday. Today isn't the same kind of day as yesterday, but you want to try to learn those lessons. So we waited for, wasn't in anything early. And this is the only green candle we've had since. So if it doesn't break this 560, I'll look for that reload. Mara just tried to grab VWAP, and we thought we'd be able to take it. If it gets into VWAP, it's getting really close. Going to look for that mean revert to run back into this as we continue to work into said downside on the overall market. As we said, Nvidia is still relatively strong, putting in a higher low here on Nvidia. With respect to Nvidia, if it doesn't ever break VWAP, this does turn into a potential breakout trade, but I don't trust, it's only 10 o'clock. At this point, I just want to look for continuation shorts and the things that have worked, as opposed to maybe looking for those long trades. I did like Micron if it could have held on to 101.5, but just because I like a level, if it doesn't hold the level, why go long? Like, who cares? Is there a bounce here? Is there anything there? No, it just drops through like a rock. So no need to fight it. And that's the thing about trading. You can like an idea, but if it gets to your price level and nothing indicates that it's a buy when it gets down there, then why be into it? So Micron turns red, and all of a sudden I could care less. Going to have to throw this one away. Maybe even look for a short in Micron. So we are trying to get back into the quantum names to the downside. I am noting that QUBT and Rigetti both seem, at least momentum-wise, the weakest in here. But I did not pay for locates on QU. I think I have Rigetti shares shortable, and we've got QBTS shortable. But I am watching all 3 of them, looking for the next pop to short it. Mara, we're just holding on to the even. When it gets to 18, we're out.
Yeah. I'm starting to just start to, breathe a little bit, and see just like empty out the clip a little bit here, because it's already, like the day that we need to have. It's only 10 o'clock. We do have these numbers coming out. We want to look for other opportunities. I don't want to get like pigeonholed just thinking sort of one way right now, just because we are like a little overwhelmed with some of this. That was a good trade. That was a good trade. And now we'll just wait to see if we can get even a little bit lower. It's Tesla that's stressing me out the most, really. Although this Tesla and AMD are going to be P&L number 1, 2, and then silo 3, right? At the end of the day, because we actually trade much more aggressive in these names than in the low runners. But still, we still did fine. It's just like right now, the market's not moving that much. And as Neil said, and as you can clearly see by both of us trading, by the midday trading, by that own Playmaker poll, which is at 0 and even below 0 right now, trading is not easy. When you have these winners on, and we talk about that all the time. I mean, look behind us, how packed this floor is. Trading can be difficult, So when there's winners, you got to put them on board. I'm always here talking about, we have bad days, we have good days. I told you yesterday was a bad day. We got hit. The honesty of OB as well yesterday, talking about him getting hit yesterday as well. This is what it's all about. It's about like you guys, you put in there, respect for this trade, great trade, that trade, this trade. But I think it's important that we honestly understand. Today we're 3 for 3, and it's a banger of a day. And I think that most of you that have been watching this for years and years and years know what's up. But at the end of the day, you got to sort of take it day by day and step by step. And if you're here to make money, that's what we're trying to do. And sometimes in an attempt to do that, you'll also lose. So despite maybe the successes of one trader doesn't necessarily mean the successes for all traders. So stay in your lane. Everybody just keep on, doing what you're doing best. And thankfully have great friends like Neil and Randy that can make the day so much more enjoyable.
I thought you were going to change that for a second to a bull, which would not have been, not yet, but maybe. Nvidia high of the day break just now. Nvidia is absolutely gonzo to the upside. So it looks like this one is going to put in some strength. It's still resistance till it's not, as far as I'm concerned up here. So if it mean reverts, let's give it a little bit of a breath as we try to go back higher. Quantum names are trying to go. So there's another pop. They can't get to VWAP. Maybe if it gets to VWAP, you're not even going to want this. But there's now, what's 4 green candles in a row on a 3-minute for QBTS, even though it's down 40%. So it is clawing its way back up. Every single bounce is in theory an SSR bounce, and you're lining up for a run at this $6 level. So that's where I want to put the reload in. As long as we get some kind of a trend break, this upward trend it's making, or resistance at 6 even, we're going to go back into QBTS. And we've got a Dara for Haps.
Here comes Tesla.
Some numbers here, not massive by any means, but we did have the revised wholesale inventories number month over month for November, coming in negative 0.2%. That is exactly in line here with the forecast and the consensus, but it's a little bit lower than the previous print of positive 0.1%. We also got wholesale sales data on a month-over-month basis, well above expectations here, 0.6% to the upside compared to positive 0.2% expected and negative 0.1% previous. So again, exactly in line here for the revision for wholesale inventories, a little bit higher here for wholesale sales. It's been yet another interesting day for the market here. A lot of these Mag 7 names still on watch because they made big moves yesterday. Actually, all 7 of the Mag 7 ended red on Tuesday's session. Nvidia trying to bounce back, as is the market, a little bit range bound here, but it's worth noting we are still basically flat on the day for the QQQs. We'll have to see if the NASDAQ is able to recover properly from weakness yesterday. It's been a pretty strong showing on Monday. Another ticker to keep an eye on here, we have Micron, MU. This is actually poised to be the strongest semiconductor of the day, including with the $7 billion investment here for the Singapore facility for AI memory. Either way, we do have the drop here, about 2% for MU, and we know these semiconductors are going to be on watch all week due to the CES conference. Last but not least, we have Rigetti and all these quantum tickers that Rigetti definitely in watch here. Basically, what happened was Jensen Huang said during an interview after CES saying that he gives it about 15 to 30 years before we actually get the abilities here to do some practical computing with quantum. So keep an eye on all of these tickers. Trying to make a little bit of a bounce here, especially with Rigetti bouncing just below that $10 level. But either way, be cognizant. These tickers are on watch. Pharma Bro Martin Shkreli also had some comments on these. And before we send back off to the boys, we're going to take a moment to thank Prop Firm Match. Are you feeling overwhelmed trying to find the perfect prop firm? With so many options out there, it's easy to get lost. That's where Prop Firm Match comes in. Prop Firm Match is the ultimate platform to help you identify and compare reliable prop firms tailored to your trading style and goals. Whether you're after low fees, high profit, splits, or quick funding evaluations, we've got you covered. Say goodbye to hours of research and confusion. Prop Firm Match makes it simple to find your perfect prop firm. Scan that QR code or visit propfirmmatch.com today and take the guesswork out of finding the perfect prop firm. Back to you.
Yes, sir. And
Yes,
thank you
sir.
very much to them. Scan that QR code you see there. Hey, we trade prop.
ASAP.
And it's the trading prop. It just means essentially you're trading a firm's money, right? So there's retail where you're trading your own, and there's prop. That's the easy way to think about it, where you're trading someone else's money. And when you are doing that, you want to make sure you respect their parameters, because everyone's going to have different rules. Prop firms are always going to have risk limits and that sort of a thing, which helps you with your discipline. So as markets come back in here, part of discipline is if it gets to our level and sets up, we take it. If it doesn't, we don't take it. So Mara's coming back, trying to retest those highs. It's not there yet. We're at 70s. I'm in at 80s. We'll see if we get another curl up there. I keep checking over at QBTS to see if we're going to get that push, or I guess not even push, relief rally, because I think, when a stock is down this much and it goes up like a few pennies, you can't really call it much of a push. But it is a little bit of a curl into this 580, and it's trying to mean revert back in. Still lower highs and lower lows for now on QBTS. So first available pop seems like, or next available pop seems like it's now. Local highs at about $5.80. If we catch a fill, just going to move a stop to that level. All of them still bleeding as far as I'm concerned. And whether it's this, whether it's RGTI, Rigetti. Yeah, Rigetti just did a curl at $11. Let's see if we can't get back on QBTS. They're all short sell restricted, meaning, you're not really getting filled when you hit that bid.
All right, well, interesting times over on Ridgemont High over here right now, because we just go long on Tesla right there as it breaks higher. We get out at 401s, go long at 401 as well. So now taking it the other way to the long side and hoping for more. We just got some out in and around that 402. So right now we are long Tesla 401, engines revving now. We said we're just doing what we said we'd do. So that's what makes it feel good. And we went on that sort of thing about how, what trading's all about and things like that. I mean, this to me is what it's about, throwing some things back and forth here into the market, seeing what sticks, making the trades, making the plays, and there it goes right there. And it's just sticking to your plan. I think Obi yesterday talked about that, right? And it was the data point, that question that Joe asked him. And it was, what data point would you keep on your journal? And it was, did I stick to my plan? And I think that we talked about going long 401, going long over 400, over under 400, I think was even the terminology that Neil used as well. And so there it goes, man. So we take that trade, we take the long, let's see if it works out. But one thing that has worked out, that is for sure, is our consistent pressure that we keep applying on AMD. And I mean, this is the other thing about, and Adara coined this, so I say shout out to Adara for having some confidence. And it's like, this is what it's about. It's do not leave your trades. Like, if the trades break down, fine, get out of them, for sure. And we did that. We got out right here. It broke down, it took VWAP, we got out. I, unfortunately, I wish I would have looked at this a little bit more, and we should always be focused on the trades that we have. Unfortunately, someone even in the chat goes like, hey, man, this is also, not only are the trades bangers, but it's also pretty entertaining. So it's like, you got to watch out for those things, but there goes AMD to the downside. So there's us getting out, and there's us getting right back in, and we talked about giving it a little bit more room. So here's another dollar right there. We've been in the dollar club on every trade so far that we've had. Hopefully not making it a reverse dollar club here on Tesla. But AMD, there it goes, man. Huge move, Neil. Right back into the downside one more time, as this market cannot seem to hold any bids. I mean, that was a nice move on the futures. But yeah, fade central coming through one more time. There goes AMD to the downside.
Yeah, and when the market does this wick top, you got to be careful. Again, it just cannot seem to break through these highs. So now I'm just looking for an entry on the way back in. Trying to keep it simple, keep all the, try to keep emotions out of it. I saw that in the chat yesterday. Like, I'm staring down Mara, I'm staring down Qubits, and it's not Qubits, it's D-Wave and Intel, QBTS. So if we get a mean revert here, which would be a break of the trend line, I'm jumping short. Well, I'm already in Mara, but you guys get the idea. We're going to fade it. It's the same thing with QBTS. The problem with this one is it's, when it heads to the downside, the bid just sort of evaporates. So it's a little bit trickier trying to catch the short in any of these quantum names because it's SSR, bid just drops and you can't hit the bid. It's longs covering the majority of the fills that you're getting here. So kind of a missed opportunity, but that's the problem. If you're going for a mean revert strategy where you're waiting for it to break the trend, when a stock is SSR and it breaks the trend, the bid probably just drops out and you can't hit that bid to get in. You might have to have a different approach to getting back into the short on QBTS. Not an issue for Mara. You hit the bid on Mara, you're going to get the bid. But QBTS, bit of a swing and a miss there. That's twice that we haven't got a punch on QBTS, unfortunately. But there's still plenty of time in the day. I just tracked over to Nvidia, and it did not hold. So now with a failed break on Nvidia, failed break continuation, if we don't get above VWAP, then all I see is a failed breakout. If you start putting in lower highs, then the Nvidia turns back into a short as well for me. So again, just got to be a little bit patient with this. BFRI, another one of these runners for everybody. It just halted, flat tap, but then it's the NASDAQ stock, so that doesn't really give us good updates. Downward halt on BFRI. What goes up must come down, unfortunately. A lot of these names, if they don't hold that prior high breakout, you're going to be in a world of hurt, especially VWAP coming back in and underneath on BFRI. So still the same three names I'm looking at in QBTS. Here comes $5. You got to be kidding me. The quantum bleed is really on, and they don't seem to have much of a bottom.
What's up? I mean, Sam Pepper, like I said, man, this is part of it, right? And you said right there, Sean says stick to his strategy, then he switches long. I told you, over 400, I'm going long. Under 400, I'm going short. So I absolutely stuck with the strategy. The only problem there is that I held this breaking through 400. It just should have been another short. That's all. And honestly, like, it's, to be green and to be like doing some of the stuff that we're doing here today is pretty special. So I just hope that everyone, like I said, can trade their own stuff because it's not an easy day trading. And, there's going to be traders, obviously, that are going to be green, that are going to be red. When making a trade like that on Tesla, you really have to have, again, like that sort of conviction to hold, in my opinion anyways, to hold that through 400. Sure, the market's tanking, and let's not get it twisted. I mean, now this is $1.70 right now in the money. So let's props up to actually, to your point, Sam, to actually sticking to the plan, making the money, and going short, and sticking with the AMD short, right? So we don't have a red name. I don't have a red name today, and we've done really well, I feel like, on everything that we've traded. So we're going to try to keep the momentum here to the south side on the trades, but to the north side on our logic and on what we've been doing. Because you know where I'm sitting on? I'm sitting at 144.50 on Nvidia because, again, it's what we labeled and what we wanted to do. So, and again, we were too busy with Tesla at this point. So again, good call. But that only gets to 144. So we were, again, in the right space, just missed that trade. And we talked about waiting for levels to come through, right? Nvidia is still positive here today as the market is bleeding. And then we got that super chat yesterday. The best trade yesterday was the AMD short. And it looks like today, I think, bar none again right now on this AMD, just because it was reloaded 3 times up there at 123. That looks like that could be, again, it's only 10-12. I mean, there's a lot more to happen right now. But for me, this pretty much like ticks all the boxes for what I'm looking for right now on that trade. And then, Silo was great. We got stopped out there. We had 5% left, I think. I think we had 10% left at one point, and we got some out there at 290. Then we got out again there. But Silo, again, just buying there and then buying the dips and reloading that and taking that right there to the upside. So, yeah, man, like so far so good on pretty much everything that we're doing. Just waiting to see for more opportunities. Really, that's it. And a little sad about missing out, obviously, on that Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get every fill, you can't get every execution.
Still a positive name, but
it is what it is, right? Like you just gotta, when you make a trade on a specific setup, okay, when it wins, just make sure when that same setup comes again, and eventually all trades are winners or losers at some point, just make sure when you win more than you would lose on that trade. And sometimes when you miss an entry point, it means it didn't give you a perfect setup. And if you take one that isn't, if you take a trade that isn't part of your plan and it wins, sometimes that sets you up for failure. So look, Rigetti's now at 50% down. I feel like that's a psychological level here for Rigetti. But the other thing to track is there's nothing on the chart till you get to like $6.50. I'm in halt watch on some of these. If there's some kind of a capitulation bottom, I'd like to look for like a panic low and then maybe some short covering. So at this point, like Rigetti seems like it would be the one. Every even dollar, I'm going to look for it. Mara, we got into intel on a curl, but Mara did a bid drop when it. So when it's set up here, it was a very big difference between Mara the first time it came up there and the second time. Like when it broke trend, like that first candle was like 2% to the downside. So like it's just like not like the open where it goes in there and just hangs out for you to get the top. No, this one dropped like a rock. So for that entry strategy, didn't get the reload. But if it double bottoms here at 18.25, I jump out of the trade and look for the next. But the way these quantum names are going, I just feel like there's going to be some kind of a shot at a reversion on the quantum names. So I want some kind of a panicking candle through an even dollar level. Try to take like a very tight stopped long trade on a mean revert here on Rigetti. If Rigetti looks like it's the closest one to it. 50% down, 9 even, trying to put in a bit of a double bottom. As I said, I'm getting out of Mara if it double bottoms that 18 level second time.
All right, man.
Jay Lee said they're already long Rigetti. Good luck, Jay Lee.
Yeah, best of luck to you, Jay Lee. Yeah, look, you know, there's another $2 right there. So the double dollar club right there on AMD. We can have a quick look at Rigetti as well. But for right now, this is what we're in, and that's what I'm looking at. So AMD, nice move down. Let's see. We're waiting now for 120. We don't have any reason to do anything other than wait for that right now. And of course, lament missing and flipping over on Tesla. Look, Tesla is still going to be P&L number 3 today. But at the end of the day, wow, huge move down on TSLA. Congratulations, anybody revving those engines upside right there on Tesla. So yeah, that's that trade. I would still look for a long maybe in this name, and we were just bouncing right now off these lows as well that have come into play. So maybe there is something right there. We just did take that opportunity to cover just a little bit more of AMD on that downside there at 121. But right now it is now $2.50 now in the money as we get even lower. If you guys are here for winning trades, thank you. If not, thank you as well. 9,600 watching right now. If we can hit that like button, let's get that going as we're setting records over here at Trader TV Live. So thank you so much for all of the love and the support, and just keep it coming, right? I mean, we're here for you guys. We're here tomorrow. Market close tomorrow. You'll hear some of us give some ideas on what we like for long term, and some discussion on, portfolio things, anything like that, Q&A kind of stuff. I actually don't even know the format. It's going to be...
Well, I think it's Q&A. You guys have questions. We're going to be ready to answer them. I think we're just going to lean on some ideas for the long term. But if you guys just pepper us with questions, we can just sit there answering questions.
Yeah.
The market's not going to be... I mean, Toronto markets are open, but...
I'll be trading.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto's open, and there's Europe is going to be open as well. So there are trades to be had, but for the most part, we're just going to be there for you guys. The market's at the lows and trying to make a little bit of a bounce. I've got my trail on in Mara. I got a trail on in Mara, and here comes that qubits. I keep saying qubits.
Yeah.
D-Wave, QBTS. You know what I mean when I say it. Bit of a reversion, double bottom through $5 on QBTS and Rigetti. I almost put our VTI. Rigetti now double bottom at $9 and trying to reverse this trend. So there's that trend line. Rigetti is now held a low at $9.18 and trying to close above the trend line for like the first time. Well, you guys can see the chart. I mean, obviously it's bleeding down 48%, but it's making an attempt right now for the mean revert.
All right, let's just keep on going then. I don't, other than that silo trade, if you guys have anything in the chat, that QBTS, it didn't really get to my levels. We just talked about maybe buying some Tesla upside right there. for an upside, but buying that downside dip. It looks like it does hold pretty great at that 200 period moving average. So we're kind of just like waiting to see what winds up happening here with Tesla. But for right now, yeah, downside push into those levels. Market, again, we've already zoomed out, bounces off of some of that. We could look at the DXY maybe to see if there's anything going on there. IBIT, I mean, crypto not really moving. I see some people there asking us about MSTR or whatnot, but for right now, it doesn't look like a whole heck of a lot is happening in crypto land. I mean, IBIT now down at 1.2%, so not much going on here in that space, but still something anyway.
95 holding.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So maybe 54, 50. I mean, the bottom if you're looking for a hold, maybe in crypto. So that could be something there on IBIT coming back into $54. So looks like now it might want to go. So wow, some good levels to dip by there on IBIT for sure today. So yeah. I like that 95. I like the 94. The last time I bought was 94.150. That was pre-Christmas. We probably got into there again. But for right now, holding those levels, I'm not that nervous about it because it is what it is. But at the same time, yeah, crypto's been going to the downside. So I think there's enough to be nervous there. Okay, Adara with small cap recap. Let's go.
The small caps are certainly headed to the downside, 1.5% to the downside for the Russell 2000, actually breaking below, excuse me, that key previous support level of 220 that we chopped around most recently last Thursday. So clearly some weakness here for the IWM, bit of a rounded top here on that 15-minute chart. VIR, one of these small caps to watch here. This one, Vir Biotechnology, announcing that they're basically going to be presenting, excuse me, some initial phase 1 data from one of its trials. They have about a 7% short float. Next up, we have CURR. This is Currents. This one has been falling pretty repeatedly, but bouncing really nicely, still up 200% and near day's highs, but be warned, it is extremely volatile. Debuting their seamless AI call center solution. So any AI-related headline, a great look. CURR to the upside. This is Equinox Gold Mine, EQX. This one, a little bit less volume, just about, I think, around 2 million shares traded so far today, up around 7% right now. They announced yesterday after the close that they've extended their Fazenda mine life by 7 years. So EQX, bit of a small cap gold play on watch with about a 4% short float. Back to you.
A 4% short float, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you like Bitcoin, sometimes you don't like gold. And it is what it is. We'll get to Nvidia in a quick little second.
I was thinking about buying some gold.
I did a change of, usually if I take a mean revert, you can see the trend line. It didn't hit safe, so it's not there anymore. But there was insanely heavy tape at $10, in front of $10 on Rigetti. I got in, saw one look at that, and was like, no, this is very different. I don't think you can put these in this category. There was not it reverted trend, but there was no panic bottom. Until there's like a ridiculous, huge volume candle, reversal candle, breaking the low and regaining, like that kind of thing, to me, should be the reason to get into some kind of a long. So I did jump in and just going to jump out of it. It didn't feel right. Like if you saw it get to like 990 and then you watched the level 2 in the tape, let's just say that everyone and their mother was selling shares and there's no need to be long in front of it. Nvidia is bouncing off the low. It's a failed breakout setup here. So failed break. Looking for a continuation after the failed break. So pull back into VWAP and then the VWAP short here on Nvidia. Beer producer just said IonQ did it, right? Not exactly what I would be looking for. It's kind of like a bottoming tail at the 27. The volume isn't a big panic volume candle though. I think, you know what? I want extreme evidence that you made a bottom on these. How about that? Like it can't just kind of look like a bottoming tail. It's got to really look like one. Otherwise, no point trying to fight these names.
Oh yeah, that was
like it's.
Wow, they're still going.
I just pulled up a weekly chart on IonQ, oddly enough, because I think at some point there's going to be a huge opportunity here. And if you do that, IonQ, it's crazy to say, but like $20 to $21. That is the initial dip after it broke out here that's November, and then that's that prior high. So there's, like when you look at the daily chart, there's a lot of room to the downside on these things, like a lot. You gotta be careful. I want some real evidence that these are dead. I don't think it's there yet.
Well, dang.
Or not, they're done being dead, I should say.
Yeah, I have no idea about what's going to happen now. We're going long right now, though, so let's go a little bit of a face slap and see what winds up happening now with OKLO. So we are now long on that name into 36.25, just going down to the low of the day when, you know, I said that there was going to be a name that we wanted to buy if the market did go down and there was some nuclear talk. So we're going to go nuclear a little bit here. Start to get some out now on OKLO. There it is again, Neil, another one. 30-cent winner right there. Shout out to Max. But there is another 30 cents there on OKLO. So, I mean, again, you can see the different styles. Trading a little bit more sort of these kind of like faster moving names and just trying to scalp them out as we go. Watching out also for our good friend AMD as that continues to go lower as well. We are covering AMD though. I mean, that just 120, like we got 120.80s right there as it just bumps up another dollar. Like that was $2 and change right there. We only have like 5% left of that trade. Okay, look, for OKLO, I'm taking out a little bit now. We're out of probably about 15% right here. I'm offering 68. Okay, that's strange that it just stopped there. We did not even get filled, so that was me there sitting at 68, offering that level. There it is, okay. And now the next level there, 94s. There it is, man. It's another one. Well, props it up. Good talk today, good trading today, as there goes OKLO. Nice move once again back there to the upside. Again, we just switch over to a quantum name, and it's a banger, Neil, right there.
OKLO, no, that's you said it before, it's nuclear.
Yeah, that's right, nuclear, yeah.
Like look, I get it. Though both those spaces they've been parabolic movers. So there's been some sympathy, like when one bleeds, they all bleed because they've all been going parabolically to the upside. They don't always go up together, but they certainly have been known to come down together as well. So I actually haven't checked my SMR today. Probably a good idea to do so. So Mara did this test of the low of the day. There's the break of trend. Break of the trend and then trail to the I used this bar, but I probably could have used that one there and been out at 28 instead of 31. But we're out of Mara and looking for VWAP. At the same time, Intel just went green. So we're jumping out of this. This is actually holding VWAP. So all of a sudden, this looks a little bit, the only thing weak about it is that you still got a ton of overhead resistance here at 2030, but it just held a higher low. I do still believe in Nvidia as we're trying to push back into VWAP. That overall setup where it tried to break out, failed the break of the high, or at least rejected the break of the high and trended back down. I'm going to look for a push into VWAP or a trend break to short Nvidia. I haven't traded Nvidia yet today. I thought I wanted to be extra patient, didn't want to chase that long, wanted to see if a short would actually set up on the stock. And all of a sudden, as the market gets to VWAP, or the NASDAQ gets to VWAP, Nvidia is underneath it by a hefty margin. We're going to look for a trend break or just back into VWAP for the short there. All right, what's going on in those quantum names again? Rigetti is starting to go a little bit. Not much, but it's starting to go. It might be the beginning of something, but it can't pop more than 20, 30 cents before the sellers come in.
Yeah, that's the thing about Rigetti. I mean, I know it's the same thing here.
Any of them, really.
Yeah, with OKLO as well. We took some more outs up there at the 70 level. So now we actually only have half left on this name as it comes right into those levels again. We already nailed it. We've talked about support and resistance and how key that's been. Well, this $27 is pretty good. So we'll go long there at 25s against 26, and then we'll see now. We'll extend our stop a little bit more now that we've taken out some profit here. But into this play, again, like the stock at these levels and think that we can get away with it right now. So we'll do that on OKLO, see if it can extend out a little bit higher. I'm waiting in the 80s now for another out. Hopefully that will come through for us on OKLO, and we'll see what winds up happening there. Okay, and then AMD, we've talked about it, so let's move on to something else. We've really liked the TQQs to try to short the NASDAQ. We've talked about looking at the market instead, of course, of individual names, and we might have just missed it right there into the 200 period again. The thing is, it hasn't been that great, so I kind of want to avoid, but I kind of got to look back at this because like the 50, the VWAP, the 200 are all at the same level here. So I don't really know what that's trying to indicate to me right now, but it just failed off of it pretty good. So TQQs goes to 80.20 right there and then falling back in. So everything is working out just perfectly right now as far as looking at some of these lines. But I mean, it hasn't been that great. VWAP on the futures, we talked about that, right? It was pretty choppy there. We'll see if we can make the run back. The TQs, of course, is a triple levered ETF. So I like to trade that. All right, Oklo now. I'm going to get another piece at 52. We'll just join this party there. One little bid, and we should be able to get another piece out, but you are fading back. We've talked about getting out of half of that one. Thank you so much in the chat. Someone just said that was a great call on Tesla bounce. Thank you. But like I said, you got to take the trade. And I talked about this with Obi yesterday. Neil and everybody, I talked about Neil and Brendan yesterday too. Is like, we could talk about all of these lessons and everything like that. I love filming these extra reels. Go check us all out all over the place right now. Instagram, Twitter. We have a new Twitter research page and all that. But this isn't in the wild right there. We talked about it coming down into the 200 period. We also talked about the short over under at 400. So it's like, these are trades that we're making. This one was a loser. Well, actually, this one was I'll have to find out if we made or lost on this because we did have a nice break. But there's like inaction right there on Tesla. And then there it was again on the 200 period moving average. So, we don't have the trade, but there is a trade there anyways at some point. I think for me, this basically worked the same as yesterday. We talked about what AMD did yesterday, and that's why it's the most special, because here it is downside. There's the retracement right into VWAP, right into the 50 period again. There's the retracement into VWAP. So if you're going to look at what we did today, it's virtually the same thing, except for we joined the party at 123. Then we used the pre-market low of 123 to get these trades. And then there's the pre-market low corresponding with VWAP. So this is not like, let's look back at the trade. What did I miss? What could we do better next time? This is live taking these trades and really just pointing them out. And I think that even if you take them or you don't, just for myself too, like, it's great to see this work out like that, because then we get more and more confidence for next time. And no matter what you've made or lost today, next time is what's most important, because it's the next trade. You could have made $10,000 today. It's what are you doing the next trade, because that's already in the past, right? So that's important. So we'll wait to see what our next time brings us here on AMD. But for now, we are at a level that I think I'm going to cash a little bit more out. So cash me outside on AMD right now, and we will bid some right now and see if we can get that out as crude oil comes out right now.
Yeah, inventory's just dropped there. Oh, come on, chart. Come on. One of my charts just did the old crash-a-rooney, so I got to do that. There is Rigetti. Rigetti might be on its way to VWAP, but the other thing, and what I wanted to point out when I was drawing this trend line, I'm not going to draw because I don't want the same thing to happen, is if you look at this trend, it's a lower high at the same level on Rigetti. So it's holding on to this trend. If it breaks it, I think VWAP, unbroken, this would be the place to look for a curl. I am favoring D-Wave for said curl. As I watch Rigetti as a bit of a leader. Look at D-Wave. It's actually weaker at this moment than Rigetti, so it's holding the trend much better in my estimation. So volume actually drawing down a little bit here. So hold on to the trend. We're going to get this little bit of a short pop. Nvidia is not at VWAP, so I think we still want to be patient with it. I'll give this to about 540, which is this prior low on Rigetti. That's assuming we actually get filled on the offer, which has been a bit of a challenge on these SSR names. This time we do get the fill. And then Nvidia, still want to stick with the same. Oddly enough, we didn't trade Nvidia at all today, and it can't even get to VWAP, so forget it. Nvidia is not going to VWAP, at least not for now. The next available pop, we'll maybe look for a consolidation and grab this 141, if that's what it wants to be, but the overall setup stays the same on Nvidia. The next trade is a continuation short unless something extreme happens. Failed break of a resistance level in the high of the day. I say continuation. Oh, let me fix this for a second. I say continuation at least until we get some kind of a final breakthrough of this 50 period on the daily. Like, if you just lose the 50 period in earnest on this daily, then you can join it and work for 135. So Nvidia continuing to look weak. Danny asking if MSTR is a head and shoulders on the week. Well, it's perfect because Dara is going to talk crypto, and we'll come back and look at MSTR.
Great timing.
This Bitcoin is not looking great here. We are at day's lows. to keep in mind, this 2-day sell-off began here. We opened yesterday around 102 halves, currently breaking below 95,000, around 94.8. Now, there's a couple different reasons I'm seeing floated around that Bitcoin dropped. Of course, we did have that massive drop with the whole market on those JOLTS job openings numbers, which were higher than expected yesterday around 10 a.m. I'm also seeing here on CNBC, they think it had to do with the fact that there was that increase in Treasury yields, a bit of a spike, which basically led people to flee from some of these riskier assets. So it could be Treasury yield related, could be JOLTS related. Either way, this was a pretty massive liquidation for crypto. According to CoinGlass, there was liquidations of around $206 million in the crypto market in 1 hour, and a total of around $400 million liquidated in the crypto market within the last 24-hour period. We've actually had the global crypto market cap drop 4.5% over that period. So this drop for crypto is not just something on the chart. It was pretty massive, regardless of what the cause was. Now we're going to take a look here as well at what's going on in crypto as a whole. If you're guessing it's red, you would be correct. Bitcoin down about 3.5%, Ethereum down 5%. We've got XRP, BNB all down more than 2%, Solana down almost 6%, Cardano down 10%. I'm not going to read every single one. Needless to say, it is weak, even more so than the market, which is basically chopping around flat right now, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Back to you.
A little bit.
Well, MSTR, which we were asked about, that's not chopping around whatsoever. So does it look like a head and shoulders? If you're looking at it, I don't care what time frame you're looking at, the answer is yes. Like if you're looking at today, there's a shoulder, there's a head. I mean, one is kind of slumped. It's kind of doing one of these, but who cares? If you look at it on the 15-minute, shoulder, you can put shoulders everywhere. It just looks like a rounded top in every iteration and a potential flat bottom break through 330 at support on MSTR. That makes me jump back over to, we're at 94.6.
Yeah, it's low.
Yeah, this is bad. So I still feel like this gap that's going here on Mara has to contend with where the selling was before at 18.25. So why do we want to trail it at this price? Well, $18 is here. There were sellers across the board at 18.25 for like 3 days in a row, and then it broke out. So I feel like buying probably comes in. And if it doesn't make any kind of a push back up, like if this can't get back to 18.50, then I'm just going to short the bottom end of the range through 18.50 instead of trying to wait for the top on Mara. But yeah, MSTR does look a little bit nasty if it loses 330. But first things first, market's getting into VWAP now, or breaking VWAP. So the NASDAQ's about to go to the high, and Nvidia is trying to go into a lower high. Well, that's even more for a short setup. If we get to VWAP and the market's filling the highs, then you get to pick on Nvidia at that lower high, which I do like. So that's the next setup here. Either a push into 142 that we fade, or a simple trend reverse, which it hasn't really set up a trend. You got these, but it's not really lining up for a break of trend unless it's breaking down under 140.20. So I'm looking for VWAP next on Nvidia. Hopefully the market's got enough strength to set it up for us. Kay in the chat just said, Sana, what's up? These guys, I'm not the science guy around here. There was a press release about them. It read really well for like a diabetes trial cure thingy they had. It seemed like really groundbreaking, but then I'm a layman. It sounded cool, but like any other small cap, price action matters. Failed high break, trend down. Watch out for this. It needs to make some kind of a base. It's looking like it's bleeding here, but I was pretty excited when I read that press release because diabetes is a big deal, but not looking good even though it's up 160%. Let's go take care of some business, I think.
Yeah, we did have that silo trade today as well. That was a trial, something with that.
Yada,
so yeah,
yada.
just be careful with all of those trades. Those are very good trades to take, especially with low floats, and how you can find out some of those low floats and some charting levels to look at. As we found that level on silo up there near that 350 marker, you can use eSignal. I would think that would be part of the best opportunities for you and your trading experience to get leveled up with eSignal. Make sure you grab their platform today. I've been using it, since I've started trading. It's been obviously very, very reliable. And to me, we keep on talking about this. As we look for different ETFs, we've seen names start moving around, like Tencent yesterday as an ADR. But if you want to trade that and have a look at what that looks like on Hong Kong and Hang Seng market, you can grab that. We talked about Nintendo over there on Tokyo. I mean, these guys are entitlement based. Grab all the markets in one space. Upgrade your trading experience with eSignal today, the best in the business. And again, a shout out to eSignal for helping us out here. And again, giving us all the tools that we need, and just hoping that you can join the revolution as well. eSignal, scan that QR code below. And if you need me to do any ad reads as well, please contact us in the chat. Okay, all right, we're still waiting for OCLO. We were waiting for 50s to come in on OKLO, and OKLO, it doesn't look like it wants to come in there. So we'll have to wait to see.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah, good, yeah. I'm sure it was probably pretty lame, but we did it. And all right, so we're gonna wait to see now what happens with OCLO, of course, as we, yeah, exactly. Remember to like and subscribe, share it, share the experience. Not just with your friends, share it with your family. And, because my wife is obsessed with everything. My pet probably has a YouTube account. So if you have one as well, and a pet, you go log them in. They might be able to watch us. Shout out to Belle, my lovely cockapoo as well. Yeah, watch us on your,
watch us on your smart TV.
Yeah. Marissa the other day goes, "Who's that guy in the midday?" I was like, "It's Joe, man. I told you that about 1,000,000 times." She's like, "Oh, she likes Joe." As she was watching it, they're on the midday. And
he's
on
focused
the TV.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Now he's like,
glasses,
okay. Don't worry, Joe, we got you. But yeah, so she was like, "Oh, this, smart dude and this and that." And I instantly thought she meant Obi, but then, yeah, of course. Just joking, Joe. But there's Joe. Thank you, Joe. What a great addition Joe's been. So we say shout out to that. And what a great team, obviously, that we have here. Sharif will be back very, very soon. Probably just going out for a very cold walk, I would assume, which I'll be doing after this. I'll be going to the gym, which should be fun. Okay, so we missed that fill on OCLO, and now it goes back down to the downside. Like, look at that, man. It just came right into 50s for some silly reason, I guess, to be honest with you. We were waiting at 26.55 when we could clearly see that was the problem. All right, so we play this downside take. To me, this is fine. We knew this, we didn't know anything that this was gonna happen. We did take some out. We talked about having 50% left. So there's the reload there on OCLO. This is why it's important to ask us, how much do we have left on this stock? What is our current position maybe? Because you want to know, and that's why I tell you what I'm at, or are we red or green on a stock? How's that idea working for you today, right? Why would you want to listen to me about OCLO if I'm just putting up losers? So anyways, right now, we're going to find out if this happens. 25.50 coming into play there. That's, I believe, where my stop is. I want to give this a little bit of room. So just so you guys know, I would not even trade OCLO, even though it's a $25 name. I trade more shares on Tesla and on AMD than I would on OCLO, just because of the volatility and the lack of familiarity on this name, and quite frankly, how far you have to hold it in order to get that winner. Like if it's moving $2 at a time, you got to hold it for at least, and up to you, but 50 cents, something like that. If you're going to try to catch a 2 to 3 to 1 winner on these things, that's kind of what you're trying to do. So we're going to hold on to that. We'll trade out of OCLO when we see fit, but I was thinking about 50 cents. So the best we got was about 50 cents. So I think that's what we're trying to lose now. So 26 and a quarter right now. You guys know where we're trying to get short right there on OKLO, or get out of the long.
Guess what is dead may not die.
Yes.
And that applies to Fubo. I try to get that right. I like Game of Thrones, but and they butchered that in.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's sometimes you have writers whose talent is adapting works that are already there, and maybe not doing original stuff, which is exactly what happened to those writers. The second they didn't have something to work off of, it was absolutely terrible, but the books are great. Fubo is about to go, has a chance to go green here. I don't want to be the guy that jinxes it, but I was looking for trend joins to the upside, and Fubo seems like it's it. What stock? There's higher highs and there's higher lows. So I like Fubo, and it works out nice technically because prior low was this prior top, double top. So if it pulls back into 515, I like that for a trend to the upside. D-Wave does a little bit of a curl here, trying to break those lows. $5 is now double bottomed. And if you're watching these, you should have an eyeball. I'm talking about the quantum names. Should have an eyeball on the others. Rigetti's making a higher low as we speak. So Rigetti not at the lows and making a higher low. This presses into VWAP, jumping out of QBTS just on pure, I guess, sympathy is the word I'm looking for. And then the last one, Nvidia, is still trending back into VWAP, still putting in higher lows, hasn't gotten to VWAP yet. Once it does, look to be short, or if it just breaks that trend, we'll jump short on Nvidia. I do believe it's up past 1040.
Yeah.
Let's see how the Canadian dollar is doing. Well,
Ooh, probably
the USD
great.
is the one everyone cares about.
Yeah.
Adara? No? Yes.
This is actually not that segment. This is Sector Watch. It's okay. We'll take a look here. As you can see, the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 a bit directionally confused. They'll be up a bit, they'll be down a bit, and I think that confusion is really reflected in this sector board. There's a little bit of green, a little bit of red on a lot of sectors that are a bit of both. Lots of confusion here in this health technology. Pretty mixed batch here. Producer manufacturing, pretty red, though. Consumer services, red. Utilities, a little bit mixed. Process industries, a little bit mixed. Energy and minerals, a little bit mixed. There's really hard to find any sector that is actually strong across the board. The closest actually might be the often battled health services sector, trying to find a little bit of a rebound over 1 month now since the shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. That did bring this whole sector to the downside due to some negative sentiments. I mean, there's a lot of negativity here in producer manufacturing, utilities, or sorry, not utilities, finance here, and also in electronic technology. Don't let that green spot for Nvidia fool you. A lot of the names in the sector, particularly AMD with a double downgrade, are very weak. We also have technology services, Meta, Google to the downside, Microsoft to the upside, but a lot of these names, including Pan W here, Palo Alto Networks, sharply red. So it's a really mixed picture. It's hard to find any sector that's a standout to the upside or the downside, guys.
Oh,
Pan W is sharply red. Okay.
I still think Eli Lilly is going to be a bit of a sell up here at 800 again. I know it's up today, but only because I mentioned this yesterday and I'm doing this in my own personal account. Like, if it gets to the 50 period on the daily and cannot break it out, I'm covering again. So last time I covered was I remember the price because I did that thing where I just go I like number 22. I sold at 922.22. But if it fails the 50 period, look at this, earnings at the 50, and since then, rejection. If it does it again, why not take some out and then look to be able to buy the dip? Like if it holds on to 700 again, or if it gets down to like 580 to 600, that can be a good entry spot. So yeah, everything looking pretty disgusting. Disgusting's the wrong word. Everything looking pretty red. It was interesting to see that up 1% when I'm not overly bullish on it right now. And I go over to Pan W, and then of course, I was going to make a mention about Pan W. No, it's not that. It's just if I hit enter too fast. And the last stock I was looking at was, if I look at a New York stock and try to flip to a NASDAQ too quickly.
4%.
But Palo Alto, hey, it's at the 200 period moving average on the daily, which means in about 15 minutes and change, when we are done a morning show, I'm going to log into my personal account and I'm going to buy a little bit more Palo Alto. Now, I sold shares of CrowdStrike to dollar cost average them into Palo Alto, but I was waiting for it to get to the 200. And then every single month, until all of that CrowdStrike money is in, I'll put another 20% of that cash into Palo Alto. Just for the long term, I probably never sell those shares on Palo Alto, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, down at the 200 period moving average, if you like a stock, I like buying the 200 period in Pan W's right there.
Yeah, if you like the stock, that's for sure. We talk about that. Okay, so, we haven't had this in a minute. Okay, so quickly here, shout out to everybody that's new to the program. We have many new viewers. We're actually, like I told you, man, Trader TV Live setting numbers and putting up numbers every single day. And we want to thank all of you for joining us, and make sure you join us tomorrow. We're even here when the market's not. So we're here tomorrow. There are markets open. So we'll be discussing the markets that are open, and I may or may not be trading maybe some bank names there in Toronto and just giving you guys a feel for that. So if you guys are trading TSX stocks, we'll be probably doing that today as well. But so tune in tomorrow. All right, so hello. Today's menu is... It's been a while, but today's kind of appropriate because we've had a lot of these. All right, today is tandoori chicken thighs. I mean, I think that's going to be a winner. One of my favorite cuts of chicken, the thigh, along with curry potatoes. I don't know, that could be interesting. I don't know. With cauliflower and chickpeas. I think that sounds really great. I mean, I'm surprised there's no samosa with that as well.
Oh, there probably will be.
There probably will.
Usually they have samosas.
Yeah, so there it goes. A little bit of Indian cuisine today, which is awesome. And that is what is for lunch. So, yeah, okay. Just really quickly on Silo. Someone, when I got out, they're like, oh man, you could have maybe held this to see if there was going to be a big runner into today. Yeah, Always. Can always hold everything. But again, you got to have rules, you got to have outs, because then you only know how good you are based on your rules, right? I mean, because I've already made today like 100 trades. So to go over and look at them all, whatever. But this is one trade for me. This is a long there on silo, then the long back into the 50 period, then the close. This is one idea, multiple exits and multiple entries. Generally I'll have like 1 or 2 entries. If it's getting spicy, maybe 3, and I'm going to talk about that with Oklo. But at the end of the day, you know, this is the idea for me. Get in, get out, hit the next trade. And it's been working. We've done that, obviously, all throughout today and yesterday and every day. All right, so we almost got into that zone where we need to stop out. So 25.65, we do get a nice little bid there now happening on OKLO. But this is not the day, I don't feel like anyways, to sit there and try to chase basically bottoms here on these kind of names. We're lucky enough to be long now at 93. We have a pretty good price. So if this can get going a little bit, I think we can probably surpass. It's only done 7 million. It's probably higher than the average daily volume, but it's still not a whole ton of volume. And we are getting nervous because this name now down 12%. And guess what? Part of the reason to get into this trade, okay, it's going to break. Now, we're already getting out if it breaks 50s. So once that happens, it's gone. And then we'll lose that 40 cents. But part of the idea behind this trade, too, was maybe an SSR bounce, but that's not happening. We did get 10%. Now it's down 13%. So SSR be damned, it is still going down. So, all right. Well, now it's time for some...
Yeah, that was my bad.
Yeah, currency. Yeah, it's okay. We always, that's why I never say what it is. I just say go over to Adara. But right now I know what it is because they just told me it's money talks as Oklo's is out right there. So we will slap, it'll probably bounce back a little bit right there. We'll slap a fail on trying to go long. And that'll be our first red name right there today on OKLO. So Oklo, a red one in the portfolio today. All right, money talks with Adara.
We done any of these 4 super chats?
No.
They're talking about money. We're really quickly going to mention here CVGW. They're called Calvo Growers. They just got a short report from J Capital, so be aware of that. Also, that we have to be aware of this US dollar. I've talked a lot about that strength off of that late September low. This is around, I think we made this low September 30th, bounced off 100. Currently, as of right now, actually nearing 110s. 109.5 was that high here from the first trading day of 2025. So that was January 2nd high. So right now, our high of day here around 109.35. Currently, trading just shy of 109.2. So we'll have to see if we get that breakout for the US dollar. We did get some pieces of economic data today. Nothing that moved the market to the extent of that higher than expected JOLTS number yesterday. But we did get here lower than expected ADP employment change. So 122,000 versus 140,000 expected. We also got a lower than expected initial jobless claims print. So that came in here at 201,000 versus 215,000 expected. CME FedWatch tool basically the same here. It is worth noting we've talked about the odds of these rates staying the same have gotten higher and higher, especially since that December 18th meeting when we found out we're going to have a much slower rate path. As of yesterday, too, after the JOLTS job openings, we're now not seeing a rate cut priced in at all this year until July. So if we get a rate cut, it's likely not going to be until July. We're going to have some months here of steady rates, and we are only having 4.8% of participants expecting a cut here in January. So let's see what happens. This is, of course, just expectations, but it's always worth seeing what they are. As of right now, we are expecting no cut in this meeting later this month, January 29th, 2025. Make sure to like and subscribe and check out our new stream tomorrow. Back to you.
Oh, no, 4. So thank you very much, Adair. Obviously, the market's moving a little bit here, and there's a lot of names that we didn't get to cover. But we got a few super chats to go over. I want to thank Tisha Perkins for a couple of super chats. Kerr, which is a Singaporean, is that right?
Yep.
Singaporean stock. We'll go over that. And then we had from Rohit, Uber as well. And shout out to Chulri. I almost said Churley. Chulri. New member at Trader TV Live, and thank you for that super chat as well. So we appreciate all of you. So Kerr, I hope I'm saying that right, Singaporean name. It's got it's a $500 million company with a 63 mil float. It is a repeat offender in terms of reverse split drop and then reverse split drop. But I was telling Sean, it has better price to sales and better cash relative to its price than some of the quantum names. But it's still, keep in mind, it is one of those types of runners. So obviously, when you look at the chart, it's nothing rocket science to say $7 has been resistance in the past. If you're in it, not a great place to chase. Look at the reversion it already put in. It's already pulled back off that $7 level. So you look at prior highs, 5 would be reasonable for it. And a name that is distinctly different from those, it's not a small capper, it's Uber. So Uber is back in today after kind of rejecting the 50-period moving average. I don't know that you can call it it barely made that test of the 50-period, but it's going to close this week above 60, right? So on the weekly chart, that's what I was looking at last week. It's like on the weekly, this is closing above that 60 level, which to me signals a long, because on the weekly, it's a very, very big level for Uber. But it is a little bit of a rejection of that 50 period and a continuation down, which is like a lot of other stocks. And it's a floodgate open kind of situation underneath that 66. So I think you'd look for shorts at the 66 level would make a lot of sense to me on Uber. But that's kind of come and gone. It's at 65 already. So thank you for the super chats, everybody. Want to go back over to Nvidia. Still unable to get to VWAP, but now it's got a rounded top going into rounded top. So there's your, I don't know, call it head and shoulders, but there's your lower high. So I said if it doesn't get to VWAP, we'd work off of the 141 level. So now I want to play it off the 141. It just cannot seem to go. The NASDAQ is still kind of trending up here on the 15-minute. So I thought Nvidia was going to carry us into that short. It just hasn't happened. Looks like we're breaking down on Nvidia. QBTS we're still in as Rigetti and Co. and all of these quantum names continue to trend lower. Rigetti's right back off the bottom. If it holds the low again, I'd probably look to jump out of this trade and then short the next available pop. The Rigetti looks like 9 is holding pretty well. 50% down could just be the psychological number as to why this is bouncing here. It kind of makes some sense. I mean, when things bleed this far, it's not like there's going to be any kind of obvious technical that's going to hold up on a line. So that 50% number plus the 9 even could be making some sense here. And then IonQ, which according to Martin Shkreli, if you read his note this morning, this is the one where there's the most of a there. It actually, he believes, had some value, although he gave it an $11 fair value, which is not where it is right now. It's also making a bit of a bounce off of those lows. So with the bottoms potentially looking like they're in, D-Wave continues to break the lows, but if it breaks trend, I'm out. Every time it gets back up to the trend line, I'm either trailing out if it breaks it or reloading it if it doesn't. Keep it simple. Oh, and this 430 level is essentially the 50 period. So that's a cover for me if it gets to the 50 period on QBTS.
All right, yeah. Again, QBTS a pretty good name.
Probably a QB.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that AAPL. That was a loss for us. So, hopefully we can get, some better trading there. But there goes AAPL. It does bounce back up into $26. So, watch out for that name. I think there's going to be a trade there eventually at some point, obviously. All right, AMD's made its way back. I'm not... just to wrap this up, we only have 4 more minutes left. Sharif is back. All of you would have seen him earlier on today as well. So shout out to Sharif being back with Joe. So back to regularly scheduled programming there today. So that should be fun for everybody. Bitcoin's had a nice move. So I feel like that IBIT could be something here, obviously, as it bounces off that 54 area. So that's going to be something to look at for those of you that are interested, of course, in crypto. Looks like we do get a little bit of a bounce there off of IBIT, off of 95,000. So just a level there. I don't know about, level of concern or anything like that, but, something that's been a little calmed down. And although we sit here and we talk about like how wild the day's been or how some of these names are moving around and this and that, at the end of the day, Tesla's basically, we opened up 390, let's say 393, but then we just took off immediately. We've sort of made that high, made those lows, and now we're just kind of in the middle. And I look at the NASDAQ and I say sort of the same thing. We took off, we came back in, now we're just in the middle again. NASDAQ pretty flat today, only down 0.8, and the NASDAQ and the ES same way, down 0.12. We can check out what the diamonds are down now as well. Of course, that would be the Dow Jones. So right now the Dow flat as well. XLF, check out some of these financials here as we go, just to see if there's anything more dramatic than anything else. So XLF kind of the same way. I know Joe will go over some of the indexes and what's been happening over there as well. Okay, so here goes Palantir. Nice bottom again at 67. A couple bottoms there, once, twice. Absorbed it, now back up into VWAP. So with only now 3 minutes to go, this could be a trade as well here on Palantir. Maybe. Now for me, I think the market's rebounded pretty nicely. I'd rather wait for a 67 trade on this than use that bottom, that 67.91. So I think buying maybe in the quarters right here and then using that as the bottom could be a trade. Interesting now that it's all the way back up to VWAP. I don't know if it's a break long or not through this. The futures are giving me feels of nothing. We talked about also look, we were short. We made all our money short. Today's going to be a big day. But at the end of it all, I don't know if I'm willing to flip long or add to the shorts right now. So just sort of sit on your hands. The minutes are coming at 2 o'clock. So that should be something. Oil came out. You know, we didn't really cover that oil.
Hey, just quickly.
Yeah, go.
I saw a couple of people, Petter and Kyle Burdett, both saying Nvidia with a question mark and then saying, what was that just now on Nvidia?
Okay.
So nothing, I don't see a thing. There was no spike. I don't have a crazy candle. Maybe it could be like whatever your provider it is, you maybe just had a bad candle or something. Because to me, I'm watching Nvidia. I have it up, and Nvidia didn't do a thing just now. Like, so if you have a bad candle, it happens. Maybe it's like a late dark pool printing. Usually we would see those too, but I didn't see anything on Nvidia. There's no weird candle. There's no volume spike. It's still tracking just how it was before. Like I'm still looking to short it back into 141 if it gets up there. But there's nothing wrong with asking that question. Like, hey, what just happened in this stock? Maybe we hear news on it. Maybe we see something. But yeah, nothing really doing on Nvidia. IBIT's trying to get through VWAP, so it's going to bring me back tomorrow. Here, I mean Bitcoin. So this is IBIT at VWAP. That's Bitcoin. I'll zoom so you can see that better. It's actually trending up, and as it works higher, you're getting the same flat top, or it's not really a top. I guess it's just a resistance level on Mara. It's a lower high, actually, at 1840. So you're kind of trending up on Bitcoin and breaking out a little bit, and this isn't breaking out. So simply want to short into this high. If Bitcoin does any kind of a curl off that trend, I would want to add to Mara in here, but otherwise it's just that 1840 is now held for 30 minutes now on Mara while Bitcoin continues to go higher. So I'll give it a shot. It's not VWAP. I was waiting for VWAP, but it's showing me a different level now at that 1840. So we'll go ahead and take it. I just looked over. It's already 11 o'clock.
Getting go.
Remember, I know it's 11 o'clock now, Sharif. I said it 1 second early. It gets on my...
The people want Sharif. They wanted them immediately.
They do. Remember with the Fed minutes that, yes, it's kind of a big deal in terms of what it might mean in terms of tone and for the rest of the year. But that doesn't always move the market. So we'll be back at 2 o'clock. We're not going to come on early. I don't think we come on early for the Fed minutes.
No.
That's usually just for an actual rate decision. But we'll be there for you guys. Right now, you've got the Professor and Joey options and a heck of a lot moving on. Don't forget about Fubo. It's starting to catch some of the volume as well.
Right, Fubo.
So go get them, boys.